Morning, sicko. That's a weird name. Oh, what a day. Let's see here. I have so much to catch up on. Things are good. Even when you're 12. Isn't that funny how that works out? Creeper 597. I was like, I actually have a thing about picking a good name. Just beginning people sometimes. Are you sure you want that name on your email forever? I've got to fix the schedule. It's the one thing. I had to fix the site because the site was Santasan. Hello, friend. Probably take that up a little bit. How's it going, Taurus Johnson? I'm actually really good. I feel like I definitely lost some time. I haven't got the videos up from last week yet. I know I feel like such a failure on that. But I do have revisions to the site which were necessary. So yeah, I need to probably lighten these just a little bit still. They're still kind of too faint. I like them. I like them like this, but massive overhaul on the site CSS. So that's what I've been doing. Unfortunately, that means that this is not updated, which I'm going to update right now. People are like, what are we working on? Well, we're going to do TMUX and shell scripts. Because what happened was the first week we zoomed through all the terminal stuff. Yeah. And that's a fail. We have to like spend at least one full day on each of the major components. Hey, Data. Getting on the terminal. So that's kind of the problem here. I also put all this into one page. Hey, your smart refrigerator. So I mean, there's just so many little things. Also, I have like to check all the quality of all the linkages. Yeah, my GitLab, my TMUX conf is also available. I'll get you guys that too. Morning, boost mod. Excellent. How are you? Yeah, see this has got too much extraneous fluff in it. Day, what are we? 16? Day 16. I don't even think I have a day 16 yet. I don't. How's it going? Good morning. Day 15. So I need to add day 16. Week 3. And I'm also going to, another thing I learned too. This, I'm going to stop listing the topics by book title, at least in this one. In fact, I'm thinking about removing the book references at all in the schedule and just using the books as source material. So I could say, go read this part. Hey, Zeros. Because if I do that, then what I can do is I can actually, each of the topics that's covered in the book. How's it going, India? Each of the topics that's covered in the book, I can then Have they been generous? Nice. Week four, man, we've been doing this a month. Command line chapter. See, this is really, I'm gonna leave it in here because that's what I had in before, but it's actually not just Linux command line chapter 4. And day 16 it is. Day 16. Another reason the videos aren't up is because I need to go edit them. I talked about drugs and stuff in my video on Friday, just randomly because it was a Friday. I didn't say anything bad or inappropriate, but it just doesn't have to be in the video. It's like, but it's gonna go on YouTube. You know. Yep. I know they should, but they can see the real me anytime. Yep. Friday Live. Oh, you missed that? Oh boy. So I think I'm gonna only leave. I think I'm only gonna leave my like really long, like just screwing around. Oh, you're saying you caught Friday Live? Oh my gosh. Are you talking about? Oh, that one needs to be. Yeah, that one needs to be cleaned up. Day 16. So we're gonna do TMUX today. The first segment. Screen-centric. How's it going, Alordian? We're gonna start here in 2 minutes. I sound like Professor Messer. He's so funny. Countdown in 10, 9. How do you spell centric? Do I need a hyphen? It's like one of the toughest things to spell. Usage rules with word centric. I think I looked this up once already. All right, a few seconds left. Subscribe to Tier 1. Well, thank you. That's always nice. I have to have people help me because I don't ever look at my subs. I did go back and read through the IRC logs. Yeah, the other day just because I was going through looking for stuff. I did put 2 and 2 together. I figured out that Chris Titus actually is the YouTuber I watched long ago after I had a massive Manjaro meltdown, and I went to see if anybody else had the same thing, and his video that he referenced in the IRC is the video that I saw, and he mentioned it. He mentioned it on Friday when somebody mentioned Manjaro, and I said, oh, I can't talk about that right now, and somebody did a TLDR for him, and he goes, hey, that sounds like the video I made, and I was like, yep, that's him. You're the executive producer for Chris Titus Tech. There's such a thing? It's funny though, because I was like, I had no idea who he was. I didn't put the 2 together, and then the other day, I'm so embarrassed, I'm kind of sweating now. So I was like, I was watching, I don't know what I was doing. We were just screwing around on Friday night, and oh my gosh, what a great man you are. Yeah, it's fantastic. I don't watch YouTube very much, to tell you the truth. I gotta confess. But anyway, so then I'm watching it. I go back and so I went back to go see a clip from Chris, and then I was like, wait a second, this is the guy who did the Manjaro video, and then I went back to the video, and Zeros was like, yeah, he's a pretty big YouTuber. I'm like, oh my god, this is so nice. It's so flattering. I love our Linux community. Can I just say, our Linux community is awesome, and I'm talking about the broader community, not just here. So let's go ahead and start. It is 111111. And it's good to see all of you here, so to speak. Turn the music down a little bit. So I know it seems weird, but I'm going to go ahead. I was like explaining to everyone that this entire weekend, this actually last week, I have been really spending a lot of time on the app, on the Knowledge app, and I'm falling behind a little bit on my YouTube postings and some of the things. But I am happy to say there is not a single broken link on this entire website. And there might be some spelling errors and stuff. Thanks by the way, for all the help you guys are doing submitting tickets when you find things wrong on the site. And I updated all of it. Playing around with the dark mode that I like that emphasizes the words. I'm going to it for a grayscale. And we're going to do TMUX now. So let's go through some other stuff here. So just to let you know, if this is your first time, here's a session time breakdown. And what do you mean by app? Everybody asks our app. It's going to be a progressive app. So actually, let me show you. So it's this is a progressive knowledge app. That's a term I'm using. Progressive knowledge app is a minimum viable knowledge base written entirely in Markdown and rendered as a progressive web app. That means it's not there yet, but when you go out to the website, it will actually ask you, hi Mina. When you go out to the website, it will actually ask you, do you want to download the app? And it will download the whole site as an app, and it uses something called service workers, which is a part of the progressive web app definition. It's a term that Google made, but it's a really effective way to describe what it is. It's an app that's a website. And if you don't know what progressive web apps are, I mean, we're not talking about that today, but just go to PWA Rocks, and you can go try these, particularly if you want to try, if you want to try them on a. Oh, come on. Did they take it down? Please tell me they didn't take it down. PWA Rock. Oh, man. I think they did. Yeah, they have an app too. Yeah, there's lots of apps. PWA Rocks, there it is. There's the GitHub for it anyway. It looks like they might have taken it down. Yep, anyway. PWA, who knows? But anyway, just look into it. We're not gonna talk about progressive web apps today. Not gonna talk about progressive web apps until we get to like web, which is quite a ways away. So I gotta get going on this first segment. So anyway, but I just wanted to recap the schedule, which I'm still writing. I'm in the process of writing. The fact of the matter is I fixed up the app, and as I've said before, I'm doing this all very selfishly because I'm porting 7 years of content from lots of other different places to this app and this thing, and the stream is actually helping me distill all the best stuff into one place. So we're on day 16. First thing we're going to do is TMUX configuration. I was going to say TMUX screen-centric configuration. So what is TMUX? What is the screen configuration? We're going to go through that, and we're going to talk about why you might want to configure TMUX the way that I have mine set up. And so let's get right into it. For the first segment today, anyway, it's just like 40 minutes. We're going to talk about TMUX. So if you don't have your TMUX config, go open one up. I'm going to actually cd into my dot files, and yeah, we're going to talk about TMUX isms. We're going to talk about TMUX plugins, all of that stuff. All things TMUX, but first of all, I need to give you kind of a history of what TMUX is. This is written on the site, but I'm just going to go ahead and explain it to you. So first of all, let me navigate to mine. I have a kind of a weird .files configuration because I actually build different configurations depending on what system I want to put them on, but I wanted to keep them all in the same Git repo. That's what's going on there. So TMUX, here we go. So here we got our tmux.conf here, and we're going to go through this line by line, and we're going to talk about why this is a thing. But first of all, let me give you the history of TMUX. Let's first of all just do an internet search. Again, I'm going to channel you. So what is TMUX? Just a random internet search. Let's see about what we get. So TMUX is a terminal multiplexer for Unix-like operating systems. It allows terminal sessions to be accessed simultaneously from a single window. That's just one of its minimum things. It is useful for running more than one command line program at the same time. It can also be to detach processes from the controlling terminals, allowing SSH to remain active without being visible. So we've talked about processes in the past. And what's a process, right? You guys remember processes, right? So there's like all the processes on the system, sort of. Here's running processes on the system. So the first thing that TMUX is a way to manage your screen. And I believe I have that written down. Yep, I think I already have this here. Yep. Okay, so TMUX is the world's best terminal multiplexer today, a descendant of Screen. TMUX allows a wide and powerful set of features beyond Screen that include the following: splitting the screen up. So that's what I'm doing here, right? You can put a thing here. We can do T matrix over here. Wait, -C default. So we do a T matrix over there. So you can have like different windows. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you can actually script your sessions. So I don't know if you saw, but every time I change my status on the top, it is scripted. So I'm just demoing to you what this is about. So let's say I want to change my status again. Go find my status line. Let's see. I can have a new window at the same time, so people can see the divisions. I normally would see the divisions, but not in mine. That's a good point. Zeros. On your screen, you guys will see lines that separate everything. If you don't want that, I actually created my own branch of the TMUX source repo and hacked it. It's a very simple hack to take that out. And if you want to see what I did, this is just a comment on Zero's thing. It's in my configuration files if you want to go look there. So the TMUX, installers. Let me show you how I put this in my install scripts for TMUX. I make a script for everything just to remember how I installed it. So here it is. This is what I did in case you want to know. There's one little line called cell borders, and I removed the things here. I actually want to do a pull request to make that a configurable option, but this is a C macro, so I don't know that they haven't made it so that it is configurable. It's built into the compilation process. Anyway, if you don't want borders in your, which I didn't want for the sake of streaming, you can go in there and take that out. That's all I'm going to say about that. So let's go back to why you want TMUX, why you would use it. So I was going to try to show you how I can change the status. Let me see if I can give you a quick example of this. This is all live, so it's like hard. I'm trying to find. There we go. Okay, so let's say Twitch. So I've written a little command, Twitch status, something, and it changes my status. Now I'm able to do that because the status bar is the TMUX status bar, and so I can change the configuration and reload it. I can actually also start up all of my TMUX screens at once and split them up and everything with a script. And I can show you what that script looks like. I don't want you to get frustrated when you look at it and think, oh, I got to understand this right now. But it's good to know that you can do it. So boost a second. I got to make this back to day 16, May 25th. So there we go. But how did I do it? We can do the time, which is meta key T, which we'll get into, and we're still doing good time on this. And what else? So here's the Twitch command that I've written. Anybody can have a copy of it if they want. But anyway, I actually, let me show you the line where I have a command for TMUX that they call this is a Twitch TMUX command. And when I get on the system, I start up my Alacrity terminal and I do Twitch TMUX, and it executes this command, and it says make a new socket for Twitch. You can have multiple Twitch, I suppose. It's not a process, but it's like they're called sockets. But you can have it's complicated, but you can have multiple different basically TMUXs running at the same time on the same system with their own panes and everything. as if you had had different computers, but you have to do that. So we'll talk about that later. I don't want to get too much in the weeds in this. The reason I'm showing you this is because I want you to see the maximum power that you can do with this. But this is not the normal thing that people want to do, but it can be scripted. I have it to running a specific Twitch TMUX that's got different things in it. And then this is it. You can actually, when you make a new one, you can actually tell it what commands you want to execute. So it has a command line itself that you can run, and you can actually send those commands. It's actually a little bit too powerful, and you can tell I wanted to split the window, and then I send it an IRC connection string. So this is pretty cool. So what this script does is, in one of the panes, it actually sends the keystrokes s/connect Twitch. And the reason this is so specific is because this window, I've got mine compiled with the no borders patch, and it's actually I think it's in my scripts directory as compiled that way. If you're running Linux Mint or Debian, you can just download that binary if you trust me. So anyway, so you can get this. These commands look very specific because they're specific to the WeChat application, which is how I'm looking at the IRC in the top. And then you have the focus here, and you have send, unset, TMUX, clear, TMUX. So this is just to show you that you can script everything with TMUX. You can script the keystrokes in each pane, and it's just so powerful. I just can't even tell you. So imagine, I mean, you can do the same sort of scripting with a lot of, desktop managers. And let me just talk about this for a second. People always ask me what my desktop manager is when they see me doing this stuff. And I don't care. It doesn't matter. I actually, that's how I found Chris, by the way, is that I went back and saw somebody linked Chris's video about what distro you're on, and I said, what's your favorite distro? And it was about whatever distro I'm on at the moment, and whatever one I need. I feel the same way about window managers. I don't care what my window manager is. You should say TMUX. What's your window? I do sometimes say TMUX. The point of the matter is that it's really true that it doesn't matter, because the first thing I put on the system is, Alacrity, or I use the terminal that comes on the system, and then I run TMUX, and I don't even look at the window manager. The only real requirement I have for a window manager is that I can press the super key and type Discord or whatever, and have it pull up my stuff, so I don't have to actually go look for anything. I can just pull it up. That is the only requirement for my window manager, because I don't do any hotkeys on any of my window manager, nor do I recommend it, because what are you doing? You're making yourself dependent on a window manager. And while I'm not against graphic UI for the things that need it, editing videos for YouTube, well, then I use stuff for editing videos for YouTube, whatever the application is for doing that. I don't edit videos for YouTube right now. I know you guys do. But for that, I mean, we're talking about, so 90% of the work I do doesn't need to leave the terminal at all, particularly with TMUX. Another thing that really kind of triggers me unnecessarily is people say, oh, you should use NeoVim because it has panes. And I'm like, why do I care about panes? Because I can split my screen up, and I can do it across applications that are not just VI or Vim. And so that also kind of triggers me. I'm like, if you use TMUX, and so this is where the book or video or whatever needs to be made, Linux Terminal Mastery, that combines the three real powerful applications together. And honestly, any one of these applications is not necessarily as good without the others. You combine the Bash shell, TMUX, and VI. If you combine those three together and kind of think of that as your desktop manager or as your IDE, you get immense power. You can use the magic ones from VI, which we covered on Thursday and Friday yesterday, which integrate shell commands, which you can make filter shell script. We talked about how you can do, if I wanted to comment this out. So here we go. I'm going to comment it out. CMT. I just commented out. CMT is a bash script. It's not some macro or some plugin, right? So if you combine bash and VI and TMUX, which has cutting and pasting built in, you need to cut and paste from one screen. Fine. I'll do that, and then I'll push enter here. I'll go over to this screen here, and I'm just giving you an overview here, and we're gonna go through the thing. So now I can do insert, Control A, and then paste, and I have my thing, so I can cut and paste. This is actually a screen thing that TMUX has brought over. My point is that when you combine those 3 applications, and I believe there's 2 more that are kind of optional in addition to that, which includes the Lynx terminal editor, which you see me use all the time, for particularly for searching. Searching from the terminal is just the fastest thing possible. There's no JavaScript or images to load to get in the way. You just get straight to the data, and then Mutt. And you've never seen me use Mutt because it's my email client, but and I use ProtonMail in graphic environment as well a lot over the web. But if you really want to become a true terminal master, if you use those, and if you had links, there's really no reason to go out and do anything else. And it really becomes sysadmin superpowers. That's right. So, and at that point, after that, you know, you can use your graphics applications for YouTube and editing or OBS, but there's almost always a command line version of something. Anyway, so this is the capabilities. Why TMUX? So let's answer the question about why TMUX one more time really quick, and then for the last half hour of this segment, I'm just going to rip apart my TMUX config like we did with my vimrc on Thursday or Friday, and I can tell you every single line as best as I understand it and what it does. I should probably comment mine up a little bit more, and you can build your own. So why TMUX? The first reason is it splits up your. Most people. It's not really the most critical reason, but it splits up your panes in your windows. Panes and windows are 2 different things, by the way. So a pane. This is the official terms. Please know the terms, okay? So a pane is this. A pane is a division of a window, okay? So I just deleted that pane. A window is another separate window, and you can see all your windows here. I've got all my windows. All right, so I've got windows doing different things. A window, otherwise known as a screen, can be further divided. So then you can divide it up, you can divide it up again, you can divide it up again. And I don't have my borders on as Zero's pointed out, so just imagine the borders are there. You know, and then you can put something in every one of them. I can put time commands in every one of them actually. So there we have. So you get kind of an idea, and then you can, you just go as fast as you want. You have a link to your Vim settings. Yeah, they're here. So it's in my configuration settings. But I can actually I can give it to you right now actually. So it looks like we got some people who missed Friday. So it's fine. Let me just give it to you really quick. Dot files cdvm. Come on. /vim. Here's my vimrc. All right, so there's my vimrc from Friday. Yeah, you can just install that all by itself. You don't need anything else. It's also, by the way, it's also on. I actually included the entire thing with commentary in the VI RWX thing. So I am really trying to make RWX.gg one-stop shopping, so you don't have to depend on going to my GitLab for configuration. So we had somebody in the chat say, hey, what's the one true config? Everybody feed Rob so you can have the one true VI config, and I can copy that. And the goal is to have the one true VI or TMUX config on RWX.gg. So please just know you can go there and look for stuff. So anyway, so the reason, so you can split it up. You can split up into multiple panes of windows. Number one reason. Number two reason is it's on all the time. So this is really big if you want to run a Minecraft server or any kind of server. So for example, when you run Minecraft, you go on the remote system and it stays connected even when you disconnect. And that's a big deal. I worked remotely for 10 years or so for IBM, and there's at least 3 or 4 times where not having screen, we didn't have TMUX back then, would have been disastrous. So in one specific time, in one specific case, I actually had the power go out, and I was in the middle of a backup or something. I can't remember the process. And because I had screen running, which is TMUX-ish, I was able to reconnect to the system and get right where I was and connect again. And that's super important. You cannot do that without a multiplexer. And that's why, people say, well, just use it no hop and use background processing. No, people talk about this all the time. Usually when I talk about this, you do know you can just background it and no hop the process. I'm like, yeah, but I can't get control and interaction with the terminal again. And so another thing about connecting like that is, and be able to restore a connection, is you can actually have multiple people connect to it at the same time. And I've had people do this before. Actually, this is one of the ways I mentor people remotely, is that we all go get on the same system. And if you tweak the group permissions of the TMUX file, you can actually all connect and share a keyboard, I call it, because literally every keystroke is, you can actually, I have a funny story about that I'll tell another day, where I had a student get kind of triggered. He was assistant Minecraft administrator, and I wouldn't answer him because it was the middle of a summer camp, and he got on to my terminal and started messing with my keystrokes. I banned him for like a week. Had to call him and like yell at him, and tell him, dude, because you can't be, I was actually with it anyway. But you can actually share a terminal session, which is really good for lots of reasons. You can do collaborative education. You can do true pair programming. Pair programming is supposed to be that only one person is typing at a time. So if you want to do true pair programming, which I have done, you can go share the source code on a system, and you can both literally type. And so when I see things like, when people make a big deal in VS Code about being able to share, multiple cursors all moving around the screen together, first of all, I think it's disastrously disorganized, because you got people in different files and stuff. If you're going to truly do a pair programming, you should share the keyboard, in other words, the keystrokes, and let one person be in control. That's how pair programming is properly done, by the way. So if you're going to do that, actually use a tool like TMUX, and it's been around forever. I mean, it's been around, so people are not doing that. So anyway, the mouse wasn't invented by Rob. Anyway, so those are lots of the reasons, and then you can do colors in TMUX. I'll show you that later, and you can nest sessions. So this is actually a TMUX session within another TMUX session. And what else? We have the ability to customize things, but the primary reasons are managing your screen real estate, because there was no mouse when the first terminals came out. When the first screen application that came out, there was no terminal. All right, so check out the TMUX project, may be of interest. I did not know about that. Let's go check that out right now. What is TMUX? Is it kind of like a way to share? Hey, TMUX project. Yeah, no, I'm that way too. Let's see. What is TMUX? TMUX enhances TMUX to make multi-user terminal multiplexing both easier and more powerful. It allows users to host a TMUX server and have clients join in either mirror mode, pair mode, or rogue mode. What? What is this? This needs to be... I'm going to go bookmark this right now. Thank you so much, B. Campbell, for showing us that. This is why we stream, people. The power of the community, the power of the stream is not just me. This is fantastic. Thank you so much for that link. I am just going to put a really quick reference to that link. I can do this all in real time because I want to. So down here I can say, see also. See, this is why I like your guys' input. Thank you. In fact, wait, have I VIP'd you already, Campbell? There you go. You deserve that. That was a great reference. So I want to be able to pay you guys points and stuff. Oops. No, I lost my. Gosh dang it. All right, here we go. All right, so yeah, there we go. So I'm going to put that down on the see also links for TMUX. All right, so enough talk about that. Let's actually get down to the editing of it. I think if anybody has questions, of course, the chat, you can ask it, and on Discord you can ask. I think we have a TMUX. I'm thinking about. I think we broke out on Discord. I think we broke out the TMUX into its own section for tools. Yep, there it is. Wow, we got stuff in all the tools. This is fantastic. That way you guys can talk about specific tools and how to configure them, and do show and tell, show your different stuff off. So again, this is more valuable when it's as a community and you're helping each other out. So please share your configurations. But I'm going to share mine for the last 25 minutes of this segment. And I'm going to go all the way to the top of the hour right now. I'll just take a 10-minute break this time because there's lots to cover. And can I have a Discord link? Yep. If you go to rwx.gg, Discord is in the top right. Okay, so that's the best. I'm going to keep sending you to RWXGG because it has all things to all people in it. So there's Discord in the top right. It's kind of hidden. But if you go up there, you can click on that and you can get there. Okay. Yep. And let's go back. Okay. So let's do the, oops. Let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, I'm already there. Hey. Okay. Nice. Nice. So here's where I am in case you want to know. I'm in my GitLab rwx.files common TMUX. If you want to actually go read the file on GitLab, that's how you find it. It's also the reason that I haven't customized my prompt very much besides color, because I want you to be able to see where I'm at. So then I'm going to vi tmux.conf. I have a little setup script. It's not fancy, but I recommend everybody do this. What this is, we covered this in many other days, but this actually does a symbolic link to the TMUX comp from my home TMUX comp. So lesson number 1 about your configurations is don't put them in your home directory, put symlinks in your home directory. This is a widely accepted best practice at this point. Because why? Because you want to see, you want to be able to store all of the changes. So this is a symbolic link, and that's what the L is, and it points to the TMUX file. So make sure you have a symbolic link. If you need help, so here's my setup. If you want to like add one to your, oops. If you want to add your own, if you want to add your own, you know, symbolic link, you can just actually run this command from the directory that you're in. I have a little thing here that checks to see if TMUX exists before it does the link. Otherwise, it just tells me to go jump in a link. And we're going to go through the TMUX configuration now, and I'm going to scream through this. But if you have specific questions, there's a TMUX chat room, you know, in the Discord, a TMUX channel. You can go ask. There's also voice channels, so if you need to ask, copy paste by, you copy and paste. Oh, I never ever do that. No, don't do it. Don't ever do that. If you want to copy and paste properly, for this you should probably use your mouse. Control-C, Control-V is one of the worst things Apple ever invented. Ever. Because I have to use 2 hands to copy and paste. It's not even, so, you know, the mouse originally had one, you like pick, and then with one hand you just middle click and paste. So unless you're on a laptop, don't do that. First of all, okay, so this is really controversial, this thing I have in the first, but I want to make a case for this because it's the most important thing in here. So first of all, you need to know that the C, I'm going to use my mouse to highlight some things. So C-B, what that means is, C means the control character, and the B means that's the actual key. In this case, it unbinds CB. So CB is the default meta key. The way you use TMUX is and Screen is you first type a meta key combination that usually always has, you can set it to whatever you want, but almost always is Control A. So Screen by default is Control A. So you do Control A, and whatever comes after that meta key or that leader key or whatever you want to call it, is the actual command that gets sent to the screen. And so pushing the meta key combo tells TMUX, hey, get ready, here comes some stuff that's not destined for the terminal, and anything you type after that won't go to the terminal. It'll only go to TMUX to tell it what to do, or Screen. And when I say it's a screen-centric configuration, just let me speak about that for 1 second. By using your config, oh, that's probably, I did right here too, I had to unbind. The reason for that, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. The reason for that is so that I can push, I can use the dash or the underline as a horizontal thing. That's been mapped some other way. So let me talk about why I think a screen-centric configuration is the way to go, and I'm going to talk really fast about this. By default, every system since 1976 or so has Screen installed in it. What is Screen? Screen is it's literally, you can get on your system, you can try it right now, type the word Screen, I'm not going to do it, but type Screen, and it will pull up a screen, and it has multiple windows, and that's it. And if you use TMUX at all, it seems like a reduced, it seems like when you do that, it seems like TMUX, right? So when the people who made TMUX, for whatever reason, and I don't fault them completely for this, they decided to pick a different meta key. In fact, they decided to pick an entirely different system of key bindings from Screen. And to someone who's been raised on screen, that's problematic because my fingers already know how to split the screen. I mean, how to make windows and all that jazz. And so I want a screen-centric one. But let me make a case for new people and why they should really doing it. You really taken to that. The reason. So let me tell you why I think that everybody should do that, because you know, it's the whole reason for using VI versus Emacs, right? It's going to be on the system when you try to get to one. You know, there's a good chance that you may get on a system that doesn't have TMUX installed, and you want to be productive using the screen tool. So I believe that it's more valuable to, and I'm not the only one. I actually stole this config from many other people who do this, but I want my TMUX to act like, as much as possible, to act like the screen application, the original screen application, so that I'm not confused by it. My fingers just know what to do, and that's what this does. So the first way to do that is to unbind Control B, which is the meta key by default, to Control A. And sometimes there's a case for leaving it, like if you want to have, you know, you can actually change it. You can have multiple different TMUX configurations that have different meta keys. And the thing that's cool about that is you can actually send keystrokes to like 3 different embedded versions of TMUX. I have 2 right now, which is very unusual to even have that. But still, you can do it. And then I set the prefix to be Control A. So the prefix is the thing that says, hey, here comes the commands. All right, I gotta go faster now. So this says use a different prefix for nesting. I don't remember what that one is in particular. I don't remember it. I don't know if I want to do it right now. I don't remember nesting. Do you guys remember nesting? That's just like my VimRC on Friday. There's some things I don't remember. This one I do know though. So double tap meta key to toggle the last window. Why not just use screen instead of TMUX? It behaves like screen. That's a great question. I get that all the time because TMUX does things that screen previously could not do, such as split panes. I can't script the sessions. The screen does not have million of color support. So I mean, I can show you an example of that. So see how this has millions of colors of support. See this right here. This is not possible on screen. It doesn't have full support. A number of other errors. So there are a lot of reasons to use it. Now I know Screen's been updated. Somebody told me the other day that Screen now had pane splitting, which was the #1 reason to use TMUX in the past. And pane splitting is really a showstopper if you don't have it. It is so valuable. Splitting a pane is 1,000 times faster than starting up a new window and any window manager. It's like literally 2 keystrokes away. So this Control A last window, what this does is this allows me to toggle back and forth. So I put my fish over here. Excuse me for the itching. You can like go back and forth, and you use this all the time. And this is a screen thing. So this is not just TMUX, this is a screen thing. And then we have, let's see, more intuitive key splitting. So I really don't like that I don't even remember what they are. I think they're like slash and % for splitting your screen. You return your old session in TMUX SOP. You can return. That's kind of the whole point. This is what allows you to split the screen. I changed it to keys that are, I changed it to keys to both the lowercase version and the uppercase version of keys that I will remember. So for me, Control A, actually, let me turn screen key on. Let me show you what my keystrokes are. That's what screen key does. All right. So, if I do Control A and then I do \, it splits the screen. You see that? Let me exit out of that one. If I want to do Control A, Shift pipe, that will also split the screen. Now I don't ever do that, but I went ahead and did it just as a mnemonic so that I can remember it. So what I do is I look for the pipe and I look for the hyphen, but I bind both of the keys on that key to splitting the screen in half or the other way. Okay, and that includes underscore. So that's just my way of making sure I can remember what splits the screen in what direction. It's easy to remember too. VI for copy modes. Mode keys VI. So when you are in copy mode, and that's another reason. So let's say you don't have a mouse and you want to copy and paste. I showed you that already. It's Control A and then left bracket, and it puts you into copy mode. You can see it up here, right? And this lets you navigate anywhere on your screen. It freezes the screen, lets you navigate anywhere, including the gutter. And then by pushing space, I can now like go pick what I want it to copy, and then I press enter, and it will go ahead and copy that. And then I can open up a new window. Let's open up a new window, and then what? I want to edit a file. Blah. Oops. That's not going to work. Temp blah, like visual mode. Yep. And so now when I want to paste, let me watch this. So I to insert, and then Control A, and then left bracket, and it pastes. Okay, make sure you're in visual mode when you do that. Oh, by the way, that's why I should have set. We talked about VI the other day, and you have to. I'm going to undo that. If you want it not to do that in VI mode, you need to do :set paste, and then it won't do auto indenting. So then when I do I, and then I do, it says it's in paste mode, and then I do Control A bracket, and it pastes it in there. I haven't touched my mouse at all. And then I can like go back, and I can, cut and paste another thing. So being able to cut and paste from the terminal, that was one of the primary reasons Screen was invented, because there was no mouse. Even though Mises existed. So anyway, let's go down here. So that the VI mode makes it so that the cutting and pasting and the movement during the cutting and paste mode are mapped to the familiar VI keys. So VI all the things, and that's what's happening. Same for status keys. So I believe that's like when you want to go into the, you see now I went down to my thing down here. So you can do all kinds of things down here. Oh, whoops, wrong thing. Sorry, I screwed up. It's hard because it's the same command line keys. Control A : all right, see that did? So if you do your meta key in : it's the same as VI's : so you're used to it. Only this time I'm not in VI's mode. I'm actually in, and let me show you why that matters. So you have, this is also not possible on Screen, another reason. So let's say I want to switch those panes, right? So I do Control A, and then : and now I can do switch. This is just the one I happen to remember. And you can tab complete in here. Oops, swap. I think it's swap pane. Swap. Come on. Swap pane. -S1 -T2. There you go. See that? And it also has history. So then I can do push up arrow. I can swap it again, and it takes it back and forth. So you can do things precisely from the command line, just like in VI. What else do we have? So we've got resizing the panes. Okay, so this is another thing that does VI bindings. So the navigation between the panes and the resizing are using the VI keys. The only difference is that when you're navigating, you let go between the meta key and the movement. And when you're resizing, you hold the meta key down. That's the only difference. So what you do is it's like to me to go talk to the fish again, I do Control A and then L. Okay. Can we save the resize configs in TMUX? Yes. What are you talking about? Oh, are you talking about all the pane changes and everything? No. Okay. I think what you're talking about is changing all your pane setups. If there's a thing called resurrect, I'm just going to jump ahead. I usually talk about this at the end. There's a thing called resurrect, and I think there's some other new tools. If anybody wants to list some of those tools in the chat, I'd appreciate it. I'll put them in the see also section. I don't use it. I used it for 6 months or so. And I found that almost always I wanted to script my TMUX sessions when they started, because here's the problem. When you use resurrect, it will bring up your session, and it will even try to restart the application in that pane, but it fails to do other things like the keystrokes necessary, like I showed you with my WeChat TMUX startup. And yeah, so my TMUX, when I start up my Twitch stuff, I want to send some keystrokes to my WeChat. And so what I found is that resurrect lost its usefulness for me in compared to writing like a few lines in a shell script where I could reset any kind of situation I want, including actual keystrokes. So I'm not a fan of Resurrect anymore, but a lot of people still like it. So it's worth mentioning that we did that. I kind of jumped ahead. I normally talk about that later. All right, we have 9 minutes to finish this configuration overview, and then anybody who has questions, we can ask those in the chat in the Discord. So again, if you want to resize the pane, instead of letting go of Control A and then going like that, that's how I went back here. You hold Control A down, and you hold Control down. And so you do Control A, and then you hold Control. Oh, I switched. I got two fishies running. Got rid of this fishy. All right, so I hold Control A, Control A. All right, so I'm going to do Control A, Control KKK. Wait, let me clear my screen key so you can see. All right, so Control A, Control JJ. Control A, Control bum. See, see that? Let me do it again. Hey, off the man. So here we go. Control A, boom, 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 boom. Control A, boom, 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 boom. Whoops. Where did my fishies go? Did I kill them? So there you go. Basically, you just hold Control down. So instead of letting one of them, you let go of Control. When you want to go navigate to it, you let go of Control, and then you just do just Control A, H. But when you want to do the resizing, you do Control A, and then spam the navigation, the VI keys. Again, VI all the things. And that's what this is. So navigation is going back and forth between the points. Avoid cursor movement, messing with resize. So this is a little bit tough. You might want to tweak this to your own liking. Sometimes if you keep doing this, eventually it will stop doing it and it'll start printing the control character instead. So you might have to tweak that. That's kind of the waiting time between how much time should it wait before it stops doing it and actually does the keystroke. Sometimes when you're doing navigation, it can be annoying because you'll go over here and you'll be like, see, watch, it'll give up eventually. Oh no, that one went pretty long. But sometimes it can be annoying because it still thinks you're in navigation mode. I've had this happen before where it still thought I was in navigation mode and I tried to type and it didn't do the typing, it did navigating. So I was typing like something that started with J and it would like move me. So you might want to, that's kind of like, people mess with their mouse repeat and their key repeat. And that's what that's about. So you might need to tweak that. Okay, so this is all the colors. This is all fun stuff regarding the time. So if you do Control A, whoops, let me clear the screen key. So Control A, T, oops. Let me get back here. So, all right, so Control A, I'm trying to get to, hold on. All right, so go back here. Now, if I want to turn the clock on, it's just Control A, T, if I can get it to do it. There we go. So it puts the time in and the time resizes. That's a really great way to check the time. It's just right there available to you all the time. So you can do that. And let's see what else we got. 5 minutes. I don't think I need to screen key any of this other stuff, so I'm going to do that. P kill, screen key. All right. So pane border. Customize the pane border, nearly invisible. So this is how you can, I've changed my colors of my pane border. Of course, I told you I hacked my TMUX, so it doesn't have borders at all. But you can go in there and change your border and make it dark. I've made mine dark. I don't like having a really prominent border. It just messes with my brain. And I don't like being fenced in. And so anyway, and by the way, if you want the TMUX that has that, my actual one, terminal start. No, I do not. I always start mine. I actually start Alacrity and run TMUX and run Twitch TMUX, and that sets my whole environment up every time. That's how I do mine. What I was going to say is that inside of my scripts directory, which is kind of a lie, there is a file in here called TMUX, which is a binary. Where is my TMUX file? Which TMUX? Oh, I know. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know how I got that one. If you guys want it, though, I guess I can give it to you. Or you can just make your own. So, yeah. Anyway, I've got to wrap up here. So very unique Mac bug. Yeah, I don't even use Mac anymore at all, but I have this in here. If you need Mac, this is for some reason is required to fix some of the user space issues. Reload the configuration. This is a nice thing. So Control A R will reload the config. So if you're like messing with your config a lot, that will reload it. And disable the status. So I don't like my status on. So set -G status on. So this is normally what some people love their status. I don't. I hate statuses. I actually have co-opted this. This is the reason you're seeing two status bars, is because I have a TMUX running inside another TMUX, and my Twitch TMUX script I just went through it already, but it sets up all my panes and everything the way I want them, and sends the keystrokes to each pane to do what I want. You can have a peek at that, by the way. So there's the script if you don't want to go look at it another way. So I've activated my pane on the bottom. This is my main, my main work status, and I don't like giving up that extra line. TMUX run at startup. Nope, I don't do that. I like control. It doesn't take me that long to run TMUX, so I start up Alacrity, and I don't. Of course, then I have uptimes that are pretty high, so I don't. Usually, it's just on all the time. I haven't demonstrated disconnecting to you yet, though, and I want to show you that. So I have all of this stuff running, right? Control A, D, detached. All right, and now if you see, if I try to do my control keys again, now what does it do? It just says Control A because it's gone, right? Well, where did it go? So let's say I go downstairs. In fact, I've done this many times. I'll go downstairs. I'm eating breakfast and drinking coffee downstairs during a break, and I want to reconnect to TMUX downstairs. I SSH into this computer up here, and then I do this. TMUX space A. TMUX space A will reattach to the last session. And you can do lots of things that are more precise than that, but TMUX A is easy to remember. So that just pulls up my terminal exactly where it left off. And I could have been running a server or whatever. So that's the main advantage. And you can kill panes, by the way. So let's make a fish pane. If you don't want to just exit, you can do Control A X, and that will kill a pane. So if a pane gets stuck, if a pane gets like super stuck, you can do Control A X, and that will kill it. I have mine set up. I'm not going to do it, but I have mine set to do Control A capital X. And when I do that, it forces TMUX to quit the entire session. WeChat, WEE, yes. Control D does not always kill. That does not always kill things. See, watch. Fish. It might kill this. Yep, that does. See, I can't do Control D for foreground. Let's see. TMUX A. Control D. No, Control D doesn't work. Control D is a shell-ism that it's like Control L. I don't think you should use it. I don't, maybe not. Let's try again. So you're talking about meta key Control D? Let's try that. Control key, meta A, and then Control D. Nope, mine's X. So Control A, X kills it. And that is, yep, here we go. This is what this is. So here's, I skipped over them. Sorry about that. So yeah, so this is Control AX, it kills the pane, and if you want to kill the whole server, Control A, Control X kills the entire server. That's every single pane and window that's running on it. It's time for me to take a break. The last thing I'm going to mention here is a few things that you have to have if you want millions of colors, and people complain about this because it's lying. These two lines right here, which I will now send to you. Actually, I'm going to send those lines to you. Did they make it? There they go. So these two lines, the terminal overrides and terminal defaults, those are required for you to have millions of colors in the current version of TMUX, which has a bug. And I don't see any hope of that ever getting fixed. You have to have those to have millions of colors in your TMUX session. If you don't do them, your C matrix, your T matrix, my C picker will fail. And it will not give you millions. It'll give you thousands, but not millions. All right. This has been a really whirlwind tour of It's not actually. It's not anymore. I mean, it used to be true, but not anymore. So here we go. I'm actually going to close out. No. Quit out of that guy. Exit. So watch. I'm killing all of my. So here's my previewer. So I'm going out. I'm killing all of my TMUX sessions. So now you can see I'm in TMUX A, and my TMUX session is clear, and I can go ahead and start a new one. Get my colors to work. So here's where I'm talking about. So I want millions of colors because we now live in a world where all of the terminals on every major operating system, including Windows, support millions of colors. So I strongly advise you to at least consider. I mean, if you look at this particular screen on a non-millions of colors screen, it looks insanely ugly. So, and I have a tool that I'm going to showcase that's been written, CPIC, it's been written by one of the people, Ethan, a kid that I mentor. He's not really a kid, he's like 18 or something. And he's made this phenomenal tool called CPIC, which allows you to pick from millions of colors to interactively in your shell scripts. And it really is a time to celebrate the colors. So we can, like, watch the dragon. Watch dragon. It's like, wonderful things like, like lolcat and all that jazz. You can't do those things if you don't have this. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and AFK until 12. Let's see, 12:11 or so. Meanwhile, you can watch the dragon today. While I go, I'm gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna be. You know what? You're right. It's only one session to do TMUX. And when we come back, I will be jumping right into the bash coding section of the book. If you don't know where the book is, go to rwx.gg and click on books link, and we'll be back. Okay. All right. Oh. How are you guys? I hope there's no inappropriate comments in the dragon. It's like boomer jokes. The dragon is full of Unix boomer jokes. A lot of people don't get them. I don't get most of them. Yes, for sure. And here in their mid-30s. Yeah, that'd be a good question. I would, of course, never find that out. Start up the TMUX. And I just have one window, one humble little window. There's no such thing as TMUX.rc. So, okay, so let's wrap that up. The file lives here. That's where it goes. Okay. Now I've got .al. Yep. TMUX.conf. And I think it looks for it in a number of different places, but that's the traditional place to put it. I wonder if it defaults to finding it in .config, which is the new Linux file system place to put things. Aren't we all? All right, people, crack open your book if you want to follow along. Oh, yeah. So let me be clear. That whirlwind overview of my TMUX configuration doesn't cover all of the many things you can learn from there. I think just going to the website for TMUX is probably the best place to learn about that stuff. Party, hey Carlos. But let me just say, so Control A W shows you all of your windows, and I have mapped that myself to match Screen. So Screen will show you all your windows. Control A W will show you your stuff. It doesn't do this. It shows you the sort of numbered versions at the bottom. If you want to switch between them too, by the way, hey guys, you can do Control A and you can do the number, and that will tell you what window you're on. So I only have 2, so Control A1, Control A2. You can name your windows. There's lots of stuff to do. So I've just touched on the beginning to just get you boosted, you know, on your way to learning all about it. And like most things in Linux land, you kind of have to start with somebody else's configuration and just understand it and build on it from there. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's just that it's kind of a tradition in a Unix world to, you know, to have a mentor. You know, they call them graybeards. I've grown a graybeard not because of that, but you know, there were graybeards who taught me. They actually weren't graybeards. They were, and that's kind of the tradition in the Linux world, is to kind of pass on your skills, and that often includes, you know, no shame in adopting somebody else's configuration file until you understand it. So that's a good way to turn over. Move to the next thing. So I'm now going to open up a PDF of the free book, the Linux command line. And if you do not have a copy of yours, and by the way, I'm using MUFTP, which automatically starts in dark mode, which I really love. Just turn the music down, and I'm like yelling over the music. That's not relaxing at all. So go get one if you haven't, rwx.gg/books, or click on the books link. So this book is the one that we've been reading from. For the next week, the rest of the week, we're going to be doing nothing but shell scripting. And I am going to... Actually, I had to build my own MUFTP from source in order to get the -I option to work. Just so you're wondering, this is a new change from the last time I used it, so I might as well talk to you about it. So yeah, so let's go. How's it going, Ramingu? So here's my PDF command now. Checks to see if a PDF directory is found, does file completion on this. if you want to, I can give you this. But anyway, so here it does MUPDF-GL-I. Somebody actually, we beat him up because we tried to use -I and blinded everybody. It actually is a thing. It just needs to be built in. And I have done that. So I built my own. We're 3 people. Not bad, but it's good to see you, Carlos. If you want a copy of that, here, I'll give you my PDF command if you want to mess with that. But it does include the option to start it in inverted mode. But the only way to get this is to build it. I fought with this for a good hour or 2. And I actually have... I mean, I won't go through the steps how to do that. Probably did like maybe some random time. If somebody wants to learn how to build their own. But if you want a PDF command that has tab completion in it, I've talked about this before. You can do that pretty easily with that script, and I just sent you that. So I'm going to start sending you scripts, and then with the hope that eventually you're going to start understanding the scripts. This is the English language, in case you couldn't tell. Bash. Anyway, what was I doing? The Linux command line. Okay, so we're going to jump to part 4, which is the reason you should get this book above all others. And when I was evaluating books, and I can't read the whole thing, so I scanned through them for different specific things. And this is the only book. Okay, so this is William Schacht's learning the Linux command line. Let me actually just go back for you. So if rwx.gg/books, I killed mine. Wait. rwx.gg/books. So here you go. Books. Scroll down and it's right here. It's this top link. But this is what the book looks like. The Linux command line right here. You can click on the book too, and it'll take you there. And this is meant to be the place for storing like annotations. I haven't got a lot of annotations done. Eventually, I plan to replace the books with my own writing, so that you don't have to buy them, and we can make this content truly open. And so a lot of it will be inspired from the organization of these other books, but not derived, which is illegal. So. Even though you don't need to worry about this particular book, you can go click on the Linux command line, and this will give you the PDF of the book. It's free. I bought both of the books. I spent a good $40-50. I paid for a copy on Amazon and a Kindle copy. And then I read it, and it said it's free and open on Creative Commons. So that's a book you don't need to worry about. So you don't need to worry about the other ones. You have to consider if you want to do the right thing, or you just want to get the PDF. It's up to you. My nose is so itchy. I probably should have. Sorry about that. So page 363. $80 you won't see again. It's true. Part of my job, of course, is evaluating stuff. So let me just go back to that point, by the way. I'm sorry, I've got really bad allergies right now. So writing shell scripts. This section is the only section in any Unix book, and including Learning Bash from Rye, which is the one I've had forever, that covers Bash 4+ associative arrays. I have not found, and if anybody has one out there that does, when I'm curating through books, one of the best ways to identify a book that's not outdated is whether it covers associative arrays in Bash. Now, whether or not you use them is one thing, but if it doesn't cover them, then it's not current. In fact, it's more than 5 years out of date. So this is the biggest problem with books, is that they're sometimes out of date, and in fact, usually, which is why I believe in progressive knowledge apps, which is what rwx.gg is aspiring to be. I had Bash last semester. Let me check. Yeah, it probably doesn't have it. So positional parameters, we're going to talk about that. Flow control with the for loop, strings and numbers. We're going to get as much as we can. We only have 1 week to do this entire section. But thankfully, Bash is not a very complicated language. I mean, even with multiprocessing with coproc and backgrounding processes, it's still not complicated. So the syntax is a little tough to get your head around. So we're going to jump in right now. But what I wanted to show you is right here, array operations, arrays. associative arrays, page 503. When I saw that, I was like, yes. And that's when I found out that this would be the source of any current information I want. There's lots of resources for Bash, and I encourage people to please list your resources in the Discord, perhaps not the chat right now. But as you find Bash resources out there, I'd rather curate an existing resource and recommend that than write my own. So if you, and I think it's just a more effective way to do everything, if you can find a better resource about Bash, go ahead and list it, and everybody can vet it, and we can make a decision. And I'll actually put it in my reviews list. There's a few books that are, if you go to the bottom of rdbx./books, you'll see stuff that I don't think you should use, that you should avoid. And there are a number of books actually that will do you a disservice by teaching you things incorrectly. So the goal of what I've been doing in mentoring and curating is helping people identify the best resources based on, a set of priorities that I agree on anyway, and that we hopefully this community can agree on. And so that's a lot of talk about why this book. All right, so let's jump right in and do it. So writing your first script. We're going to go ahead and write a script from beginning to end for the rest of this segment. Very simple script. We're just going to do hello world, and then we're going to do a hello while reading input from the user, and maybe we'll add a little bit more to it. But I just want to get you the process of writing a script. And I'm actually probably not going to go buy the book on this. I'm just going to show you, but it covers all of the same essential elements: how to run it, the script location, moving scripts around in your bin directory, what's the path. So we're going to cover all of these things, there's like a find script and backtick. So we're gonna cover most of this. All right, syntax on is telling you to turn your Vim script on, which is why we covered Vim first. Bash is a built-in syntax support, so when you're doing the Bash editing of the script, it should automatically show you all the highlights and everything, all the stuff we covered the other day. We're not going to cover that again. So that first thing is this first chapter 24 is pretty fast. Okay, so let's first of all, so where should I write your script? This is not something the book covers, but you should create a readmes repo, right? And if you don't know what that means, go read this, rwx.gg. I think it's called, I want to say repos setup. All right, so this tells you how to set up repos in your home directory, and all this stuff. So if you're coming late, then go ahead and read that. That's where we're going to do our work. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and, I'm just going to pretend that I have one of those. So let me see if I can make one. So I'm going to make myself a repo, RWXU. I'm going to go in RWXU, and I have my notes. Here's my notes directory. Okay, so I'm pretending like I'm you, and I have a notes directory. It's where I'm keeping my README notes. If you want to read about that, it's like, so I can put something in here. It's like Bash scripting. So you can like make your own notes. RWX means you should be doing that. The college's Bash course might help you get started. Please post, Laksham, can you put that in the Discord? I guess I will. Is that public information? Can I put that as public information in the Discord? Or is that not public information? Open Discord. I'm going to go do it right now. Bash. Why is Bash not on here? Oh, I know why. I kind of think we need... No, Bash is a language, duh. All right. Here we go. It's in the Bash language. Meet Google Drive. All right, let's write our first script. So, S is an alias, yeah. Type S. It's just alias to we. What is we? We is a way for me to communicate with the chat from the command line. There you go. So it's using a WeChat file thing. You can study that all in my config if you want to. All right, so let's actually make some scripts in here. So I'm going to make a directory called Bash just for all my Bashisms and Bash stuff. And I'm going to cd into that directory. This is all covered. We covered this last several weeks, so I'm not going to cover it again. And I'm now in a script directory with nothing there. And let's go ahead and make a file. All right, so the first thing you need to do is make the file. So I'm going to touch the file. Let's just call it hello. Actually, let's call it greet. Touch greet. And now we have a file called greet. We see that it's readable, writable by default, read writable and readable, but it's not executable. And we talked about that in the last couple of weeks. This is why, by the way, I'm redoing the whole boost next time. And I'm backing up and I'm doing scripting first. I know that doesn't make any sense until you understand why, but we're going to start covering scripting first, because as soon as you understand scripting, you understand that every single time you enter a command on the command line from the bash command line, you are writing code. You're writing interactive code. And it's important to think of it that way. And so here I am, I've got this thing. If I try to run it right now, what will happen? Yeah, so I'm writing greet and it's not working. Why isn't it working? Well, it's because it doesn't know about it. Well, what if I tell about it? You know, we already know that / means right here. I'm going to run it right here, greet, and permission denied. Why is permission denied? What am I missing? Somebody tell me what I'm missing. What's going on? Why isn't that, it's not my script's not working. Why not? No sudo. Sudo is root. We don't need root access for just a plain old script. Yes, chmod plus X. Good job. Good job. Anybody said plus X? Good job. Now, if you want to be, I use plus X because, why? Because it's easy and it's lazy. All right. If you want to be really strict about permissions, you could do U plus X, greet. And we always have somebody else at this time tell us that I could do this, 700. If you really want to understand octal permissions for chmod, go do the research. Okay. But those are all different ways of doing the same thing. And when we look at the file now, we see it's like that. Now, octal is dangerous because if you use octal on a directory, it has completely different meaning. So please know what you're doing if you choose to use octal. But I'm just going to throw octal out there because we haven't talked about it before. This is normally how I do it though with the plus X. So now I have a file. Yeah, don't do that. So now I have a file that anybody can execute. But if you, another thing you could do is you can do this. I'm showing you all this different ways. I can do U equals RWX. Hey, look at that. And then I can do ls-l and I get, whoops, actually you can do U equals RWX. And then what do you get? Then you get a file that is just executable. Wait, why did I? Oh, wait, yeah. So that, now, I mean, you want to get really fancy? Here's another one. So you can do, let's see, I'm trying to remember G equals 0, O, G, and other equals nothing. So there you go. So there's a bunch of things for you to play around with chmod. I like to show you some different variations every time we do this. Set dir to, yeah. I also haven't done anything with my UMask, which changes the default permissions, which we're not going to talk about until maybe 2 weeks, if ever. But you can change what the default permissions are. All right, so we have this script that only I can run. This is the safest way to run a script. If anybody else tries to run it in any way, they can't. Only I can run it. Not even people in my group can run it. And so now it's listed as such. And when I do that/greet, it will try to run it. And it runs a blank file, no problem. Why? Why doesn't it give me an error? There's nothing in the file. Why does it run with no errors? Anybody know? Think about that. There's nothing in it, right? So there's nothing in it. So by default, this is an important thing that you know. By default, your operating system says, I'm going to run this script using whatever the default shell is. By default, it says use the default shell. I'm going to prove that to you right now. So let's open up greet. And I'm going to put one line in here, echo hello. All right. And then what? ./greet. And it runs. Now, some of you who know about scripting are like, well, what? There's no shell. There's no shebang line in there. What's going on? Pause for effect. Think about it. What's going on? Yep, the default shell. So once again, it's running the default shell. Now, what if I do this? What if I want to write a Python script? It's not, but let's say I did. Print. Okay. What's going to happen now? Error. Doesn't know what to do with it. Why not? So it's really important. So what we are talking about. So first thing to understand about bash. God, no. The first thing, yeah, we're going to talk about shebang. That's on the right path. The first thing we need to understand about interpreters is languages. And this is covered, by the way, in the rwx.gg/languages section. So I'm not going to read it really extensively, but I suggest you get around to reading RWX-languages. We talk about declarative languages. So what kind of language is Bash? Bash is, you got all these different kind of languages. This is a list of 9 languages, rwx.gg/languages. This lists all 9 languages we're going to learn in the boost. And the language that we're learning right now is Bash, which is imperative language, but it's also interpreted. I probably should make a column for that. It's not compiled, it's interpreted. And so true or false? True or false? How do I put this? True or false? Your code runs in the kernel. False. Good guess. False. Yeah. So what we're talking about is an interpreter, and at this point, I usually play the C3PO moment where he says, "Do you speak Bachi?" "Of course I do, sir. I'm fluent in over 4 million forms of communication." "Do you understand the language of binary Morse of operators?" "Of course I do, sir. It's like a second language to me." What is C3PO? C3PO is an interpreter. He's a protocol droid and an interpreter. And there's a lot. So every time you think about interpreters, I want you to think about him, because what is his job? His job is to translate from one language to another. And that's what interpreters do. The reason, so the thing, you cannot run anything on the computer that is not compiled code. All right. So this is kind of a trick question, but when somebody asks you the question, does my bash code run on the computer? People say yes. You disagree about C3PO being an interpreter? He's a protocol droid. All right, so you can give us your stuff. My point is, the interpreter, he doesn't actually change it into binary code. But what the interpreter does is the interpreter actually parses out each one of the lines of your code, turns it into system calls, and runs it. So he's annoying. That's all. So the only thing that runs is bash. So here's what's in the bash interpreter. This is the bash interpreter. All right. This is binary code. What kind of file is that? File bin bash. And you need to know this for over the wire, and other hacker games. So bash is a compiled ELF binary, they're called, and only ELF binaries can actually run on the system. They're the only things that actually get executed by, in a true sense, like the actual, kernel runs it. They're the only things that run. So what an interpreter does is an interpreter takes your code, converts that code into system calls, and sends those system calls into the kernel and runs it for you. So it's very true to say that your script is actually not running, the bash interpreter is running your script for you. All right. Now the difference between that, and I'm going to do a little fast thing so you can get a difference. So I'm going to make a Go program in like 60 seconds. So let's say hello. Let's say greet.go, and we do package main, and we do, let's say func main, and we do I'm just really going to cheat here. Println hello. Okay, and now what? So now I'm going to compile this code. I'm going to do go build temp greet, and yep, there it is. See how it took over the code? So I just changed my greet code. It's now a compiled binary. What kind of binary is it? Let's go see. File greet. So what I want you to understand here is that the difference between a compiled language, this is a tough one because there are compiled languages that are also interpreted. Does anybody know one? Name a language that is compiled and interpreted. Anybody know any? Python is. Yep. What else? What else have we got? Perl? I don't know. I don't think Perl is. Usually people say Java. Yep. Yep. You big love Java. So Java is probably the first. C# does it too. Any language that has a VM, a JVM, like a runtime environment, like a JRE or something. Those languages, what happens is they're compiled, but they're compiled down. Python 2, NIM I think does. They're compiled to bytecode. And bytecode is this pseudo binary thing that's closer to machine code, but it's not machine code. It's called bytecode. And bytecode can be parsed and dealt with much, much, much faster. Go is not. Go is not an interpreted language. Go is a compiled and not interpreted language. So you have these three kinds of languages. And now that we're getting into language, it's important that you understand. Yeah, WASM, Rust, WASM. All WASM, by the way, is this. So you have languages that are compiled like C that run as ELF binaries. They are as close to the hardware as they can be. Okay, and that goes so C, C++, Rust, Go. Name some other ones, guys. Anyway, those are the main ones. So these are the languages. Crystal, anything that uses the LLVM. These languages, Julia, yeah, all of the LLVM languages, by the way. So, guys, among all these types of languages that are becoming really popular today, you have a number of languages. Ruby is not. Ruby is interpreted. You're finding a lot of modern code that uses the LLVM to help it get to an ELF binary, and that includes Julia, Crystal, Rust. Crystal, by the way, is compiled Ruby-ish code. It's pretty cool. So as you talk about all these languages, they're the languages that compile straight to machine binaries, which is what we're talking about here with Go. Go is one, Go and Rust, and they have runtimes in them, but they are binary runtimes. JavaScript is interpreted. So let's talk about all the interpreted languages, just so you can get a sense of that. So Bash obviously is interpreted. JavaScript is interpreted. Python is interpreted and compiled. Java is interpreted and compiled. Lisp I think is a binary, doesn't it? Go to binary. I can't remember. So you got all these, great languages. Kotlin is interesting. Kotlin is actually Java. It compiles it to bytecode, and then the bytecode runs. So Java, C#, and Python are really unique. They actually make bytecode, so they are compiled languages. The problem is in Python, the compiling happens for you. It happens on the first time you run it. You get a PYC file in your directory. That's because you've got bytecode. Scala uses the JVM as well. Yep. And Clojure as well. So you have Scala, Clojure, and all these languages that use Java. They use the JVM. They use the Java virtual machine, but the runtime and everything. But they actually are different languages. And you got Jython in there too, things like that. And they all compile down to bytecode, and then that bytecode can run anywhere there's a JVM. But in the case of Java, no, I wouldn't call it transpiling. They're actually compiled to, bytecode that will run on anything that runs the Java virtual machine. So but the C#, I think C# turns into compiled programs. So does Haskell, by the way. Anyway, so generally speaking, when you ask okay, I wasn't sure. So there are lots of different languages out there, and one of the major differences between all the languages and the way to categorize them, how close to the iron are they? How close to machine code? How close to assembly code are they? And of course, C, was written to develop the Unix operating system. So it is the closest to the hardware. They did that because the first version of Unix was written in assembly, and they wanted to do something that was a little faster. So they invented C to redo Unix. That's where it came from, which is why you'll never see C go away. It is fundamentally tied to Unix and Linux and everything that came from that. By now I'm lagging behind. No, you're not supposed to know all the basics of that. I'm just trying to give you an overview. We haven't done any languages stuff, but I just wanted to kind of get a sense of where Bash fits into the picture. So Bash is an interpreted, non-compiled language that requires the Bash interpreter be on the system, which it is. It's on every single Linux system by default because it is the default. Inevitably, people ask, well, why Bash versus Z shell? There's lots of reasons, and I'm not going to rant about it, but the biggest reason of all is that Bash is by default the Linux shell. Bash is a POSIX shell that was included not POSIX compliant, but Bash is the shell that was designed to be on all Linux systems, not Z shell. Z shell has to be installed extra. So anyway, okay, so there you go. So let's get to writing it. Now, why does all that matter right now? Well, it matters because this helps you understand what's going on. So I just made a greet command. I used the same exact command, but it still runs, except for this greet command is compiled. Why? Because I compiled it from Go. And we're going to learn Go at the end of this whole thing. So born again shell, which is the extension of the POSIX shell, which is the shell that's been defined by the standards bodies out there to be on everything, which is a part of Unix, is there. There are lots of shells, and I don't know if we should get into this shell conversation right now. Maybe we should. But there's really only two shells that matter. There's the shell that comes on the system, that's the startup shell, the shell that actually bootstraps your whole system. And in the case, you can actually see this, ls-l bin sh. And as you can see, this has Debian. So this is called I think it's called the Debian Almquist shell, which is an extension of the POSIX shell. And you can use POSIX shell if you want to. It has far fewer abilities. It's not meant to be an interactive shell. It's meant to be wicked fast, and it is. In fact, the Debian team, it was Debian. I can't remember if it was the Debian team or the Ubuntu team, but the Debian team threw out Bash as the startup shell because it got too bloated, because it was starting to get too much interactive, like user shelly kinds of quirks and cool things in it, and it slowed the whole shell down. And so they're like, we have to throw this out. They put Dash on as the default startup shell, and they save startup time by like 15 minutes. It's insane. It's like so much faster now. And you can actually do a comparison of the two shells together, and we will do that. But I just want to tell you, there's really only two shells you need to care about if you're doing coding for Unix, Linux systems. A POSIX shell, which is like Dash, and Bash, which is the default Linux born-again shell, which includes all of its predecessors. It includes, the original Bourne shell, POSIX-ish compliant. A lot of people don't know Bourne shell was not POSIX compliant. There's a couple things that it was not POSIX. And then Corn shell that came after that, and then Bash came out of that. So it's kind of gotten all of it into PowerShell. It's a completely different beast for Windows only. When did Dash start? Let's go look at it. Let's go look at that. When did Debian switch to Dash? All right, so switching SH to Dash, what actually needs to be done? I wonder what time. Hello, everybody. This is the follow previous slightly different proposal. Make Dash essential, make it divert. The symlink. Debian bugs. What date was this? I'm not seeing the date on it. Oh, July 19th. It wasn't this year, though. Must have been a while ago. Anyway, switching to Dash. So there was a big, 2009, looks like. Hey, Ash. So, looks like 2009 stuff got switched over. You seeing this? So, that was a long ago, but I remember when that happened. So, yeah. Who are about to learn salute you. So, yeah, the switch was earlier than I thought. So, it looks like it was 2009 that they made the switch. And I got that answer. How fast? Do I have to make my case about searching from the command line any further? So there you go. So Dash is the POSIX shell, which has things that Bash does not have. The best way to know the difference between the two is to write code in both of them. My normal process is this, and I actually talk about this in my dot files, which I should probably move out of there. But so when I reach for a tool, old readme, I really have to move this. Okay, here we go. When I reach for a tool from my configuration on my system, first of all, I think can an alias cover it? Then can I export a function? Does that cover it? Can I export a function from my bash RC, which we talked about briefly last week, which you can't do in Z shell, by the way. Only Bourne shell supports that. If not, can I write it as a POSIX script? Do I need a bash-ism? If not, I write it as a bash script. And then all of the other things. Is there some JavaScript in here that needs to be done in Node? Is there some machine learning that needs Python? Does it need to be compiled and be like close to the hardware, like Go? Does it have to have high concurrency? Go. Does it have to have like no garbage collection, like Alacrity? Then that would be a Rust program. And then does it need to be like really, really low level fine-tuned compilation, C or assembly? This is my selection process when I reach for a language or a tool. So Dash does not do all the things Bash will do, no. Dash deliberately sticks to a subset of things that are only available on, POSIX. It's very strictly POSIX. So it's good to know that, because you might end up getting a job writing code that is required to be POSIX compliant. For 10 years at IBM, I wasn't allowed to use Bashisms. I wasn't allowed to use, I think even double brackets for if statements. And so this is just a good introduction to Bash and where it fits into the ecosystem and what kind of language it is. And I promise you we'll finish this thing up right now. I've been talking pretty quickly, so I think I'm going to make it. So you can make sure you can write scripts that well. This is so when I'm telling you, oh yeah, Bash is not. I mean, Bash is not. Bash has POSIX compliance, but if you write something in Bash, it will not be POSIX compliant. So, why am I talking about that right now? So let me tell you the reason. So, as we have just decided, so we've just discussed, Bash is an interpreter. Now this is Go. So let's get rid of that. I'm going to now remove this. Greet. This is my Go compiled program. I don't need anymore. So let's go through. For those who have just joined us, we're going to go through the steps again. So I'm going to make. Of course, you weren't allowed, otherwise you would be forced to update. Oh, right, yes. So, is it in question, how do you turn on spell check for Vim? Colon spell. So, let's do this. So, I'm going to make it again. So, greet, right? I have a script that is just here. It's not a thing. We did this shmod already, so to kind of review, I'm just rebuilding it so that people can see again. And I need to shmod it, so I'm going to do my fancy shmod, and I'm just going to do octal because I just want to. Sometimes it's faster, and that makes it into an executable script. And then I'm going to do greet. I'm going to edit it, and now I'm going to put my echo hello, and then I'm going to test the run of it again /greet, right? So now one last thing though. So let's actually see how fast it is. Hyperfine greet. Okay, let's see how fast this runs. Whoops. ./greet. So I'm going to show you this speed. I mean, I know you don't care about speed. Okay. It has extension that isn't. Yeah, that's Bash is POSIX compliant, but it has extensions. I guess that's a better way to put it. Thank you for putting it that way. You can write POSIX compliant Bash scripts. But I believe if you're going to write that, then write it as bin bash instead. I mean bin sh, and then just but it's kind of on Arch, for example, and I think even Red Hat, bin sh is actually bash still. So you'll end up thinking you're writing POSIX compliant script, and it's not. So just be aware of that. Links. I use links to search. All right. So here's the benchmarks on that. Right. Let's actually build. So let's move greet to greet sh, and then let's build that script again, the Go script. Go build /temp /greet.go. All right, now let's actually do a test of the binary one and see how they compare. All right, so that's interesting. So which one's faster? This is really interesting. It was a lot slower to run. You see how much slower the executable was to run? Do you know why? And this is actually something that I want to show people. The reason the executable is slower than the shell script, which seems counterintuitive, it's not garbage collection. It has nothing to do with garbage collection. Don't you dare blame garbage collection for that. It's actually much simpler than that. Subshells. And I don't know how, but when I've seen this over and over again. When you run a script that is in the same language as your running shell, it always beats a compiled executable, no matter how minimal, including C code. So it's interesting. I think it has something to do with the fork process to run the subshell, but just to show you. Okay. In fact, if you want to see it really even faster than that, check this one out. Okay. I'm actually going to source this thing instead of actually running it. So hyperfine, what is it? Dot space, which let's see, well, I'll do it as source greet. And that actually, so let me just prove that this works. So you can actually run the program in the bash shell by using source, and that will run it. Now, when you run a script using source, it's different. It's not creating a subprocess like we talked about and running it in the subprocess. It's literally copying every line and running it in your current shell. Super important you understand the difference. So when you're using a shell script, you can actually cause it to run right now in this shell environment and not make a subprocess. And that obviously saves a lot of time. But the reason I'm showing you this is because now when I hyperfind this, watch how fast this is. This is crazy. Oops. I don't even know if it's going to work. It might not work because I can't source hyperfind because hyperfind has to make a subshell. So I guess I can't test that, but it's a lot faster. Yeah, it's like an include. That's right. So source or dot is like an include. Anyway, so let's actually look at our thing here. So greet sh. I can move greet back to greet sh just to give you a sense of it. And oops. So let's do our greet. So echo hello. And wrong interpreter. So one last little thing here. I'm gonna go to the top, I think, again. So we've got our echo hello script, but I want to show you what happens when we do this with Python so you can see why we need this shebang line. Okay. So if I make this a Python script or node, this will fail. Why will this fail? And we're going to talk about why we have / in a second. When I come back, we'll do path. But / is Factual Language Analytics with bash. Yes, it is. Dash is much faster, depending on what you're doing, but almost always if you can get away with it. Unless you have to do a lot of subprocesses, which we'll get into. When we start talking about the if statement, we'll talk about that. So watch. So let's do this. Greet, we already showed you it's going to have an error. Why does it have an error? It can't find Python, right? Well, I can actually get it to work by telling it what interpreter I want and passing the name of the file to run to it. I can also cat the file, which I won't. I can also load the file in to Python 3. That will also run it. So, and I could have done, I don't ever do this, but I could do, if it pretend like something else was feeding in the lines, I could feed it into Python 3 and have it run it that way, right? So all of those ways work to run this script. But if I run it like this, it doesn't find it. Why? Because it needs a hint. I told you it was useless use of cat. I said that up front. I said, pretend like there's something else there generating the word greet, the stuff from greet. Okay, fine. You want to do this? Echo. How about this? Echo, print, hello to Python 3. All right, there you go. That's better use of it. It's satisfied. And so what I'm trying to make the point of is that when you do greet, pro one-liner as well. So you need to give it a shebang line, and a shebang line is the hint that it need. And usually for Python, they'll user bin env Python 3, which I'm going to not explain right now. Let's start out with just user bin Python 3. So it needs Python 3, and so that gives it the hint it needs. And now when I run it, it can just run. Okay, so that says, I'm going to use this. The shebang line, this shebang line here is detected. Actually, the operating system reads these first two characters, and if it sees that, it also does the same thing for elf binaries, by the way. That's how it determines that it's a binary, and elf binary, and knows what to do with it. But in this case, it reads those two bytes and says they want to run this code, actually. So it runs this code and hands off all of the rest of it as standard input to that thing, just like we did with the pipes. So all these pipes like this one here. So it's actually running. Yeah, right. And you can put comments, but I wouldn't. I'm pretty sure it has to be the first line. I'm almost positive. I'm almost positive. Yep. Yeah, and you know why? Because it literally, the shebang line has to be the first two bytes of the file, because it rather than like take forever, it just reads those first two bytes of the file and decides what to do from there on. Yes, we're going to talk about the difference between user bin Python 3 and user bin env with the rest of my time. Okay, so the env command is this. The env command shows you your environment. Now, I just blinded everybody because my environment has a bunch of has a bunch of color sequences in it. I'm sorry, guys, but that's env has two purposes. One of them is to show you all your environment variables, and the other one is let me see here. I can show you without blinding you. All right, so now I have another user account. So here we go. This won't blind you as much. So here's your environment, right? So this is the variables of your environment, which is what got us on this scripting ahead of the environment configuration, because it talks about environment variables. But if you don't know what a variable is, you can't really get your head around what it means to configure your environment. So these are all environment variables, and env's primary purpose is to show you those things. But another thing that env does is that it actually will show you, it will run a file. So it will look for a thing and run it. So if I say env Python 3, it looks for Python 3 and runs it, and I get the interactive shell. If I run env like node.js, it will find node. Oops, doesn't find node for me. Node, no node. That's weird. I could have swore I had it on here. Anyway, so let's see, Perl. It'll find Perl and run it. Perl is doesn't like to talk to us. It's like, it's shy, and then let's see. Man, it's not. There we go. So it will basically have fine, and you can do it with bash. So bash, it will run bash, and that seems really weird because it actually it's running bash right now, and then I can type. You see what it did? And I can type exit, and then it will exit out of the other shell. People do Ruby all the time, and there's the shebang lines. Yep. And so the point I'm trying to make is that env has been used by lots of people to, oops, you go away. Oh, what did I do? Okay, I'll leave you again. Okay, so user bin env has been used as a way to find Python 3 or whatever you want to run. And the reason for that is because it knows where to look for it. So if you have a Mac, for example, by default, Brew puts stuff into user local bin, and so it will find it. Now, there's something of a debate here about whether you should do that, because it does slow things down in startup, because it has to run a program to find another program that then runs and then interprets your code. So it's like 3-4 steps away from actually running your program. User bin bash is the only thing I ever put in my scripts. If you don't have user bin bash in the right place, that's your problem, not mine. Usually, by the way, if I'm going to run a script in a different system, and by the way, there's a lot of other ways to get around these. It's not like you're sending scripts and email to people to run and copy and paste and stuff like that anymore. It's usually when people are running scripts and they want to control their environment. Yes, user bin Python is way more secure, which is another reason I don't like it. I'm really glad you said that. So user bin env will find anything, any executable in the path. It will look it up and it will run it. And it doesn't even have to be Python. So if somebody manipulates your path, it's dangerous. And this is a thing that, frankly, the Ruby community brought to us. The Ruby community really exploded in about 2007, 2008. And they did a lot of stupid things because they weren't really well versed in Unix in general, but they all of a sudden were all doing Linux things. And they're the ones who pretty much gave us this user bin env thing. And I actually don't like it at all. It's not only is it less efficient, but it's also extremely dangerous because it runs whatever it finds. And not to mention, it's unnecessary now, because if you really truly want to share something with everybody, you're either going to compile it and go and cross compile and send them a version for their operating system that doesn't even care where it lives, which is another reason I don't like Python, because you can't do that with Python. No, Perl never did it. It was never in the Perl world. There was probably some stupid Perl programmers who started doing that. Yeah. And so, because there was a lot of Perl over there. But the point of the matter is, you don't need it anymore. If you need that level of cross-platform, transportability, then you would do Go. You would build it and have a binary that runs everywhere and doesn't even have to care about the interpreter. Or if you really care and you're doing Python, for example, you use a Python virtual environment or a Node virtual environment. Some of the stupidest things I've ever heard of. NVM. Anyway, and then the next thing that people do is they do a container. So you just make a simple container and put your thing inside of the container and then just run it that way. You control what version of Python is there, Perl or whatever, Ruby, and you get a good time. It might have been advertised a lot. I don't use it. I don't think you should use it. It's not that big of a deal to do that. So you're not going to see me use it at all. I strongly advise against it. But if you insist on using it for whatever reason, let me know. But the reasons are hard to justify, and I challenge you to challenge people who use it to ask them, why are you doing this? And say, well, I've just seen everybody else use it that way. Well, why? Why do they do it? Well, they want to make their script portable. Okay, well, there's lots of ways to do that besides making your script insecure. So, yeah, RVM, JVM, RVM. Yeah. So anyway, user bin bash. So people will still do it, and there's people who swear by it. I hate it. I'm just gonna tell you. All right. So user bin bash is gonna give me a problem, right? And then I need to take my break. Obviously, I'm like, my throat's getting really. Hi, Hikari. So as a bad interpreter, it doesn't know it. So user bin Python 3, we already did that. So let's go back to our bash code, and then we'll actually do something useful. We'll read some stuff in here after this. After the break. So stay tuned. You talk in sonic speed, as long as you can still understand it. Bin when you may run wrong version of Ruby. Yeah, I don't even get me started on slamming virtual environments. I'm so anti virtual environment. It's I'm gonna calm down now. Bin bash, which bash? There it is. Bin bash, echo hello, which I didn't even need because it's running on a bash script. But now you know. Gotta go fast. Stay on script. I am. All right, I'll be back in 10 minutes. So you can watch the fish. Tell people if anybody falls in here on accident, let them know that I'll be back in 10 minutes. Thank you very much. All right. Opa. Classic shell scripting. Good time to stretch. Absolutely. That's what I've been doing. Do the Pomodoro method or whatever, except for we kind of cheat. We go too long. We have 30 seconds. Yeah, please put any of those books or links in the Discord so that I can mine them out of there and put them in the RWX GG so that they're linked from our knowledge app. Anybody who has a good resource on any of this stuff can really help the community. I'm actually going to vet this one before I recommend it officially. I have a feeling it's really, really old. But this might help you to write classic shell scripting, in other words, Unix style. There's another book that I reviewed that's really ancient. I was kind of harsh on it. I might backpedal off of being so harsh on these books as long as they claim that they are not modern. I think there's it's really important thing. Almost every single book, I have not seen a book so far that covers modern bash redirects with like the triple, with like the here variable kind of syntax. And there's no books that cover it that I've found. So almost all the books, including a $70 like college textbook, does not cover it and depends heavily on sed and awk and tr and all that stuff. And that is not how modern bash is written. It's not. It hasn't been written that way for a long time. And then most of the books out there don't even cover it. I'm going to cover it here. So, and if you see a lot of the shell scripts on GitHub and GitLab out there, you'll see that they are more modern and that they use a lot more of the modern syntax. In fact, you can almost always tell an ancient scripter when they use an entire pipeline of sed and tr and cut and awk and all that crap. Nobody does it anymore who knows better. So it's like a big pet peeve of mine, because there's so many uninformed Stack Exchange suggestions out there that tell you that that's the way to do it, and they're basing it off this classic shell scripting concept. And unless you're writing POSIX shellcode, you don't need to do that, and you can avoid the sub-processes. So, and that's not the kind of thing it's talked about in any modern text, and it certainly isn't talked about in a university level. Universities are stuck in teaching Unix versus Linux, Bash. And if they're teaching Bash, they're not teaching Bash 4+. So, I'm going to tell you about where those differences are as we go through here. Okay, the reason this is important to me, audio is out of sync. Is my audio out of sync? Is my audio out of sync? ASCII Fish Tank, yes. Someone confirm if my audio is out of sync so I can fix it. Shell check is your friend when writing portable. That's nice. That's a cool thing. Okay. All right. So, let me just say one more time that I don't. Well, let me just go ahead and say it now. About 6 months ago, I allowed myself to use Bashisms, to lose the full power of Bash. And I created sort of an experiment. I had been, over 10 years, I've been punished for using anything that was, I've been punished for using anything that was not, are you having a problem? Yeah. Plays before the video by a bit. Interesting. Well, I don't know if I can fix that, but I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Anyway, so let me just say that I allowed myself to start using Bash, and because I was actually, no, they did not. And when I was at IBM, because I had to write code that would run on AIX, SCO, Solaris, and everything else, I had to write POSIX code. Not fully in sync, but good enough. And the reason I did that was because of compliance. We had to have compliance across the board. Yeah, sorry. I mean, if you guys have it, I'll go ahead and stop and restart, and I can just make a thing. It just messes me up because I have to take more time. Check. Blah 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 blah. All right, so on the client side, you're okay. Okay, just checking. All right, so thank you. Now I'm really good. Maybe it was the coffee missing. Hot. Anyway, so I allowed myself to use all the best Bash has to offer, including PCRE, Perl regular expressions. I was allowed to use, all the if statements. I was allowed to use everything. And why did I do that? Because I was trying to decide if Perl and Python still had a place in my cadre of tools. And I found out that Bash is now just as powerful as Perl, so it replaced Perl for me for most things. There's some regular expression substitution that I prefer Perl for, that some people use sed and awk for, but I still prefer Perl for that. So yeah, that's kind of, I allowed myself to do it. The other thing is it has asynchronous things and other things the associative arrays and the arrays that are in Bash now basically make Bash as powerful as Perl. Hey, BaconBot, thanks guys. So as we go into the rest of this shell scripting, I just want you to understand that is what is going on with my decision to use Bash over other tools, and why I think that Bash is a really powerful interactive tool. But it also means using Bash, using all the full potential of Bash, and not forcing yourself to just stick with POSIX things. Because the whole point of an interactive shell is to be really, really productive as fast as possible, And that's the whole point. You want to have that high power, higher level language at your disposal. You don't want to be forced into other things unless you're writing it for a sustainable long-term system, something like that. So let's get into the coding. So we have this great. I do bin bash for all my scripts, and I run on Linux, where bin bash is always a thing. Everything is a string and bash. Don't really like that. So first, it's fair to say that there's a few quirks with any shell scripting language that you have to accept. So it's actually not, everything is not a string and bash. You just have to declare it below the source. So that's kind of an incorrect statement if you do it right. So we'll come back to that when we get into types. So this is your first experience with programming. You need to understand what things are. So echo hello is a statement. So this is, this would be the same thing if I executed it on the command line, which is why we're doing this right now. Echo hello. So everything that goes in my shell script can also be run on the command line. Echo hello. And then let's say I want to say hello world, right? So hello world. And I can use double quotes or single quotes. They have different meaning. I'm kind of off base here. I think I'm gonna get back in sync with the book here. So we covered the first chapter 24. We did all of this. Oh, the last thing I need to cover is path. So path. What is the path? So the path is a variable. So let's understand what a variable is first. So if I wanted to say hello world, I can do it like that, and I can do hello world. I'm gonna split my screen over here so you can see the output as well. All right, so let me see where this one is. Let me get back in here. All right, CD. So what I'm doing is I'm setting up two shells. Actually, let's do this. And then the one I can run it, and the other one you can see what's going on. Okay, so over here, I'll be editing the shell. So greet and. Hey, how's it going, Mastermind? So anyway, so we'll go over here, and so we have bash over here, and we're going to actually run it. So run greet. Okay, now why do I have to put where do you find the book? rwx.gg/books. It's the first link. Okay, so rwx.gg/books. So here we go. The PDF is there. It's free. So anyway, here we go. We have echo hello world. So let me tell you what a variable is. A variable, if you've done any kind of math, you understand, and the prereqs for this boot camp are that you have done some math, some algebra. You know what a variable is already. F of x equals 2y, right? Something, or f of y equals 2y. And so here we go. So what is a variable? I can actually change world to be a variable. And the way variables work in bash is that they cannot have, we'll do name equals hello. Let's see, world. Okay. Now you cannot have spaces in here. If you have spaces in here and you try to run it, you'll get a big old fat error. And so it's like, I can't find it. So you have to do this. All right. And now when I run it, it will actually do it properly. This is cool. But what? Let's actually use our variable. So in double quotes, I can replace it and put world here. And over here I can run it, and you'll see it runs hello, but it doesn't print out world. Well, because I did the variable wrong, dummy. Okay, so now the $sign is how you indicate where the variable goes. You can optionally put parentheses around it, curly brackets, sorry, excuse me. And that will actually also do it. So greet. So we have greet world here. You know what? I'm going to show you a fun little trick you can do. There's a tool called, you can write a little shell script if you want, or you can use the word watch. If you choose a program called watch, you can do watch./greet, and every 2 seconds it will run your program for you. Or if you want to do it a little bit so that it sees color and everything, you can write a little quick shell script for this. You can say while true, we'll get to what this does, do, and then we can run our program, greet, and a semicolon, sleep for 1 second, and then clear the screen and run it again, and then just do done. So what I wanted to show you here is you can actually write code that these one-liners. This is why we have to know how to shell script in order to use bash, because every line is that. So then we do that, and now I've got my hello world is running, and I can actually just go over here and work on my stuff. I can just do this, and it will show me the change. It changes to hello something. So by using TMUX, which we talked about the configuration in the first segment today, combined with some shell scripting, you can make the most interactive, creative, awesome debugging environment that you can imagine. It's all at your disposal. You don't have to be forced to accept somebody else's idea about what debugging should look like. You can make your own stuff. And that's why I love the shell and being able to compose these tools together in a way that I want to use. So here we have another, but this is a variable. So Rob, I can put Rob here, but you can also see what happens when you have an error. It's like, oh, I got an error there. So I'm going to do that and fix that error. There we go there. In fact, let me send you guys. So if you want this little thingy that I just did, let me give it to you. So if you want a copy of that script and you want to put that on your one-liner, here's one in EEX. If you want to follow along, you can run that with me. And if you want to run your own little sort of debugger thing, it's pretty easy little script. You're going to understand exactly how that's written and what it does later. So I'm going faster because I like to cover. So our first exposure with a variable. Now here's the thing. So somebody in the chat said that variables are all strings in Bash, and that's true in Shell, but it's not true in Bash. It's by default. It's the default, but it's not necessarily always that way. And if you read the man page, you can actually see about a thing called declare. So declare, if you're writing an actual script, declare is something you definitely want to look at. So I'm going to go find the declare explanation. It might take me a bit. There it is. Okay, so declare variables and give them attributes if no names are given, blah, 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 blah. And so if the declare, because everything in Bash is a command, this is where it gets kind of weird, right? Because everything is switches and stuff, it's unusual as a language because every line you enter on the command line is as if you wrote a line of code. And that's different than JavaScript or Python or anything like that, because anything you can write on the command line, which means that a lot of times some things that appear like they would be functions or import statements or macros or pragmas, whatever you want to call it in other languages, they're actually done on the command line using switch syntax. They have like a dash in front. So you can actually set up arrays and variables and functions and integers. So the statement that Bash only has strings is false. You just don't know about the declare. You have to make sure you use declare in your shell script. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about that is not covered in any classic shell scripting is how to declare variables properly with Bash. So if you go back here, if I do this instead, you see a lot of bad code. Yeah, they don't know what to do with it. So by using declare, you actually can use all of the powerful things from JavaScript and from Python and any other language with local variable declaration instead of globals, which is an issue that I'd rather talk about another time, but we'll get there when we start doing functions. So for example, what happens if I declare this variable as an integer? Now what do I get? I get a 0. Now, arguably, it's just as bad as JavaScript in its type. It's duck typing. It looks like a duck. It quacks like a duck. Must be a duck. Well, in this case, it's like I'm going to force the interpretation of the string Rob into a string. Well, I'm into an integer, and an integer is a number if you know math, and you see that it fails, right? Because it's like, oh no, that's not what I wanted it to be. But if I do it as a 3, it'll actually do the number 3, and it can be evaluated. And that's not going to really be important until we start doing tests and checks for return values and stuff, which we're not to yet. So anyway, so that is a thing that you can do. Do people do it? No, because usually they're writing scripts really quickly and they just don't care. So, I mean, if you put the number 1 here, it'll still do a 1, right? But then you're right, you can't do math, but we haven't gotten to the math yet. But I did want to talk about declaring of variables really quick before we get going on to show you have different types. All right, so we have variable substitution. We're going to get into parameter expansion later, but one of the powerful and weirdest things about Bash is parameter expansion. And it is hands down my favorite thing about Bash. So you can do this. You can actually say, I want this to be all lowercase. So I put 2 commas there, and now it prints out Rob all lowercase. If I want it to be all uppercase, I do 2 of these, and I say, and it will actually, whoops, I do 2 carets, and now it will be all uppercase. You can do initial cap like this. So if it were just Rob like this, it will cause it to be initial cap. I can have it be just listed lowercase and then have the rest be uppercase. So that one doesn't work, I guess. I thought it did. So yeah, anyway, you get the point. And I mean, you can do, I'm just giving you a kind of a highlight of what's to come. So you can do all kinds of variable. If there's not a name, let's say, okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to read an argument. So let me make sure I'm on track with what we're covering here, but these are all variable. Okay, so that's a variable. Let's talk about the path now. Okay, so back over here, let's close this out. We're like, why do I have to do /greet? And the reason for that is what? The reason I have to do /greet is because if I did greet by itself, my computer doesn't know where greet is, and for my safety, does not assume it's in the current directory. And by the way, if you know about path and you add / to your path, shame on you. That's like really dangerous. So do the extra effort to say, I want to run the greet right here in front of me. If you wanted to move your greet command into one of the safe places to do this, you would have to put it in your path. Now, I have a path function, and let me just show you what that is that shows me my path. But I have this just for demonstration purposes. This shows all the directories where if the script is in one of those script file, if it's in one of those places, it will just run it without a / in front or telling me the exact path to go to. By the way, .local is the current cool place to put all your bin stuff rather than /bin. In the old days, we used to put stuff in /bin, but .local is part of the new Linux file hierarchy. And so you should NVM and NPM put their stuff in .local now too, which makes .files even more accurate. So anyway, if there is a mode that forces it to error if it does eval properly, if it doesn't evaluate properly, we know. We're talking about, are you talking about types? I imagine so. Yeah. So, if those of you who don't know about declaring other things like that, can I just suggest, I know it's like 500 page long, but over time, slowly read the bash man page. There is so much stuff in the bash man page that is not covered anywhere else. In fact, in the old days, we would go take the bash man page down to the printer and print it out and read the thing. As actually, that's what man is for. It's for manual. You want to read the manual on bash, read the bash man page. There's stuff in there that is not covered by anybody else. And it's actually really useful to read it. Blocks with spaces. Oh, okay. So if I wanted spaces in here, I need to put stuff in here. So put my name in there, and now we see this. Back to the path. I'm going to go back to the path conversation for a bit here. So there, it made it all caps. Let me see. I wonder if it'll do each word. I haven't tested that before. Nope, just the first one. All right, so that's not good, but it's good enough. So yeah. Anyway. Oh, you know what we didn't cover in VI? Folding, case folding. So the tilde case changes the case. Tilde. You want to change the case of your whole thing? Tilde. Curtis squiggle, 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 squiggle. So that's a thing. That folds the case. Yeah. So the path. By the way, you know what's great about parameter expansion? Check this out. You would think that you know, my pretty path is like a fancy script. It's just parameter expansion, people. Watch, check this. So type, I'm going to tell you what my path is. Actually, I put it in a script just because I want to be able to send it to people, which I will send to you in just a sec. So here's the content of it. That's all it is. And again, parameter expansion for the win. This says replace, the two exclamation slashes mean replace every occurrence of colon with a line return. And so what it does, the normal path environment variable is rather hard to read, $path, and environment variables are by convention uppercase. They don't have to be uppercase. They are. So for example, I have some lowercase environment variables that you saw earlier with colors in them. So if I wanted to make it like cyan, I can change colors just by printing environment variables ahead of things. Lots of fancy things we can do with variables. We'll get into color later. Let me take a drink. I'm going pretty fast today. How you guys doing? You doing okay out there? So anyway, so you can actually, so that's all path here. Let me give you that script. So give path, and that should give you the copy of the script. You can put that in your own bin directory if you want. Anyway, so what's up with the path? How much we can talk about that later. Actually, just you can go to skillsec.io, or you can actually talk to me directly. I do have like one opening coming up. Somebody's graduating. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and clear here, and we still have our code here, and I still have to do /greet. So the book covers the path at this point. All you need to know about the path is you need to put your script in one of these places for it to run. And may I suggest that as you set this up, let me show you how I recommend setting this up. So CD, I have remember we talked about the .files repo directory. We know how to do all of that. And I have a scripts directory here. So, and inside of my scripts directory is all of my scripts. And these scripts are, in my setup script, it will actually link. Where is my setup? I must have deleted it. So anyway, this is what's up. So in my .local / I think it's bin scripts. Nope, did I get that wrong? Is it local scripts? I think it is. Oh, you know what I did? No, it's in my bash RC. Sorry. I actually added it in my bash RC to my path. So you don't know about bash RC and all that stuff yet, but at some point, for right now, you don't need to stress about it. But next week, when we start to talk about where things go and configuring environment, as we get into knowledge as source and stuff, you can look for this. But it's very common for people to set a path environment variable. We're going to talk about what export is in a second. Long story short, export takes a variable and makes it available to all of the sub-processes. And if you don't know what that means, go back and watch last week's video on processes. Processes are running scripts or running commands. And when you run a command, it automatically forks a sub-process. And that sub-process has its own environment and everything. But it doesn't get your variables and functions and stuff unless you export them. And when you do, then it inherits everything if it's been exported. That's what export's about. That's why you should export a thing. It's also why you should use bash, because you can export functions with bash. Zshell does not allow export -f at all. So it also has a CD path. The CD path is another thing we haven't talked about. But now that you know about variables, we actually know enough to go into our shell environment configuration and talk about environment variables. And you have a little bit of clue about what's going on with that. So the CD path, a lot of people don't know about this, by adding a CD path. The CD path is a weird thing because you actually should add a / in front of it so that it CDs into the proper directory. But it allows you to do really cool things like CD into, you push tab a couple times, I'll show you all my stuff. But CD into everything. So Zshell users love this. So I want to CD into my documents directory from here. I can do that. I want to CD into my README directory from here. I can do that. I want to CD into my live directory from here. I can do that. I don't need any custom aliases. I don't need any further. It does not show me. Zshell does not support exported variables. Show me how to do it. It supports exported variables. It does not support exported functions. So I export it. So CD into videos. If you know how to do that, let me know. If you know how to export variables in Zshell, I want to know like today, because it's one of the biggest complaints I have against it. So anyway, by setting the CD path, I want to go in my .files. I don't have to write a bunch of aliases for everything, and I don't have to throw bash out and use Zshell just because I like CD completion. So just know that exists. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead into the environment configuration discussion, so let's go back to coding, but I just wanted to mention that. All right, so test CD. So anyway, let's go back to running stuff. I actually kind of want to touch base with the book really quick. So this is talked about all this stuff. We are in chapter 24 of the Learning Linux Command Line from William Schott's book. We're going to go down here. We're making our directories. We're putting bin directories, adding them to the path. I just showed you about that. I showed you about how to source the thing. It's kind of like import. That means run this thing, run all the lines that are inside of this file one at a time in the current shell. It's as if you literally imported it. It's very important because if it does anything, including exits, it will exit your current shell, or it will apply those things to the current running shell, not to the sub process that's created when we run greet, as we have been doing today, which creates a sub process of the current process. Hence, the explanation of export. But running on Z shell. Some export variables. Yeah, variables are different. You can export variables in Z shell, no problem. You cannot export functions. So a good location for scripts. So it talks to you about where to put those and things, different directories, different things, line continuation. Okay, let's talk about that. So you probably saw on my, so let's do line continuation real quick since they cover that in the book. So line continuation, let's say I wanted to have a multi-line function. Now I could just do this. Okay, that's fine. That's not an error at all. I'll go back here and turn my while back on, while true. All right, so it does not, you can actually have, lots of lines as long as you have the quotes around them. But if you actually want to combine two statements, so let's say I wanted to do two things. I wanted to echo hello, or I wanted to split this thing up, right? That is a little bit different because, I'm trying to find a better situation of this. It's out of place because they showed you a big complicated find command. Just know that if you want to combine, two statements, so let's say ls dash, there's just really no case for me to show that right now. I think that's out of place. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to skip this. This is showing you basically if you put a slash at the end of a line, it will allow you to continue the line. I have places where I can show you that. I guess I might as well show you, but I think it's jumping way ahead too fast. So cd into dot files, and you're going to find me trying to show you my Twitch script here. All right, sysvic Twitch. So long lines, but so far we're just talking about strings. So here's a good example of it. Okay, so this is one command, and this is a command that we talked about this earlier. This is a command that runs TMUX with a really, really long line, and not only that, but I also have to put TMUX. TMUX also has a way of separating its own separate commands, and it uses a semicolon for that. So I have to escape that. That's what's going on with that. Otherwise, it would be seen as a shell command, as a shell semicolon. By the way, if I haven't already said so, anytime you put a semicolon, it's the same thing as a line return in Bash. So let me show you a case where that actually matters. And that's the thing we've been running over here. So semicolons for the win. I hate semicolons in JavaScript, but in Bash, semicolons make this possible. So this makes the most powerful one-liners possible. If this was a nested loop, it would have to have lines after the whole thing. Now let's actually try this without doing the semicolons. So as soon as you see the while true, Bash will go, oh, you must mean you need some more lines, and it will give you this. So let me just pause right here because I see beginners see this all the time and don't know what to do. Let me ask you right now, if you accidentally get yourself in a situation like this, and there's lots of ways to do that. So for example, let's say you were going to do echo hello world and you forgot the quote. What happens? It's like, oh, I think you still want to do something, right? How do I exit this? People get stuck doing this all the time. How do you get out of this? Refresh? No. Control C. So if you want to stop it, you can either do a quote, okay? Yeah, you can finish your code and do the quote, or what? Or if you want to cancel it, you can Control C, okay? You do not need to shut your terminal down or reboot your computer to get your terminal back, okay? So I've seen people do drastic things to try to get command control of their terminal back because they get themselves stuck at this little prompt right here. And yeah, so smash your keyboard until something happens. So no, okay. So what I'm trying, when you see that, if that troubles you and you want to do it right, just Control C. But you can also complete your command, and that's kind of why I was reminded of this. So while true obviously isn't enough. So it's going to say, well, what else do you want? Well, I need a do in there, right? We haven't done loops yet, but just get to know it. So we do, and then what? then we do, let's say echo. No, I want to run my code. So greet, okay, got that on a line. And then I don't need semicolons, right? Because it's all on a separate line. And watch what happens though. It'll actually interpret it for you. So do greet, and then what do I want? I want to sleep for a second. And well, what should we clear first? Let's clear first. Oh, okay. Sleep 1, and then what? What am I going to do after that? Okay, so I'm going to sleep for 1 second, and then I'm going to start it over again. So, F2 control turn. No, don't control F2. God, no. So here we go. Now it's doing it. Now I forgot my clear. I forgot the clear, didn't I? So watch. Control C to stop it. And then I'm going to go. I have set-ovi mode set. Set-ovi, because you should all have set-ovi if you want to like dominate. Don't do the other one, and don't tell me to control L. So anyway, here's the command I did. See what it did? It translated my multi-line command into a command with semicolons. So now I can go back in here using VI mode. By the way, I'm editing using the VI keys because I did set-ovi. And then we're going to do a clear. So I don't know, where should I put the clear? Should I put it first? Okay, let's put it first. Clear. All right, so then we'll do that. Now I'm going to run it. It's going to clear the screen. It's going to do this. You can actually turn the prompt off if you want to. There's all kinds of crazy cool things you can do. Sometimes I like to just let it run, to tell you the truth. But all kinds of fun things. Anyway, so that has been sort of a conversation about, or not really a conversation, it's been a rant or a tirade or a lecture about how to deal with multi-lines on the shell. All right. And okay, so that covers that section. It tells you a whole bunch of stuff about how to configure VI, which we already covered on Friday of last week. Your shell's not blinking as much as mine. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Mine's blinking. You know what? It's probably better if I put it after. I mean, I mean, we could tweak it. I think it probably is better to put the clear here. I bet it won't blink as much. Nope, still blinks. We can just take the clear out and just let it like stream across the screen. You can make it, you can give it a random color. Should we give it a random color? How about that? Let's do that. Echo. I'm just having fun now. Echo, RND, and then greet. Yeah, I get different colors, people. Ooh, should we put them? I mean, we're having lots of fun here. So now let's put them. Let's take the sleep down to like 0.25. 0.25 sleep. Ooh, and let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that line return, shall we? So no line return now. And now what are we gonna get? Oh, still line returns. Darn it. Why is it line returning? Anyway, so what if you have each letter be a different color? You can definitely do that. I mean, you can lolcat the whole thing too. So let's pipe. I mean, I'm I'm like crazy now. So wait, let's do let's do echo rand. No. Pipe to lolcat. Pipe it to lolcat. Lolcat makes random colors automatically. And now what do we get? Oh crap. I gotta get rid of the echo. Yeah, there we go. No wait. Then I gotta take that out. So there we go. Get some lolcat going on. And now I need to like do. Why do I have echo in there still? It's not supposed to be there. Oh, I am so. Anyway, I'm not on point. I need to stay on topic, but it's fun. Shell scripting is fun, people. Can I just say, shell scripting is really fun. You can do all kinds of things really quickly, and it's very addicting because you can do it so quickly. Anyway, so let's go back to my while true echo greet. No, let's do this one, which we know works. So we can just keep printing out my little things when you write clean code. Yeah. So we got lots of like little things happening there. We talked about variables. let's see what we should see if we're on topic and how much we need to cover today. Minimal document. So starting a project, we're going to completely skip this. Their first project is to make a web page. No, we're not doing this. In fact, this is one of the reasons I need to write my book. This is dumb. Putting all of that on a single, with an echo command is like 1978 shell scripting. Don't do that. Okay, Schmod 7.5, you know about that. So he's making his thing. So we're skipping all of this. There, this is a little bit better. See how you can put them all in one line. And this is the thing we just talked to you about. You can do the feed to here variable. And there's a bin bash. Here's your echo program, blah, blah, blah. Echo, blah, blah, blah. Echo, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Title, systems information for host name. It shows you variables. Here's your declare. We talked about that. I built a command with the -r for read only. I don't know why you would do that. People have done it though, so it's worth mentioning. So for example, the prompt command is set to be read only on picoctf. It does not allow you to change your prompt using the prompt command environment variable. It lets you change your prompt using ps1 and 2, which we'll talk about later, but it doesn't. So you have to use, so if you want to make a variable read only for some reason, -r. And there's sometimes you might want to do that if you have an environment where other people are going to be logging in and there might be hostile. You have to avoid the hostiles. So anyway, assigning values to variables and constants. This shows you a lot of the things you can do. And we talked about type. We're going to start doing math equations later. It's not covered right now yet. But that's why you might declare something as an integer instead of a string. So touch for making files or moving files around. You know about the move command. We talked about that already. Again, here's the use of the curlies. Sometimes you need them. You always need them for parameter expansion, which I showed you, but sometimes you need them to combine with something else. Ramilsteini. I don't know. So, I mean, if I wanted to have, you know, like an actual letter at the end, I have to do that. If I do it like this, watch, gives me an error. See how command substitution works. We haven't covered command substitution yet. It's not covered yet in the book. We will when we get there. So this is giving me an error. Why isn't it printing it out? It's not printing it out because why? Because it's trying to print a variable called naming, which doesn't exist. So this is one good reason to use curly brackets. Some people swear you should put curly brackets around everything. I don't agree. In fact, you don't even need the quotes around this. Echo does a pretty damn good job of figuring it out if you're just coding really quickly, but that will inevitably bite you in that butt. Oh, one last thing I do need to show you about though. What happens, what happens when I put single quotes? Anybody want to know? Single quotes. So coding through failure. You see what it does there? What changed? We got a problem, right? So, yep, it's absolute. So we can do this. Another way, what happens if I actually want to use that the dollar instead? Put a slash in front of it. Now it's just a string. Okay, same exact thing. If I save it like that, it'll go back to doing what we had before. So that's been a whirlwind tour of what quotes and strings are about. I think we're almost going to get to arguments here. And so we'll get to that. In our last 15 minutes, yep, single quotes will stop dollar signs from being interpreted. They do, yep. When I use Houston, we have a problem instead of hello world. Good point. I don't know. Houston. Echo-E. Echo-E is a thing. Echo-. Okay, so let's talk. They don't talk about this, but let's talk about a few echo things you should know about. So there's like 5 different ways to print stuff out that are not talked about in the book. The most common is echo, which just echoes to the screen. If you do echo-N, that turns off line return. Should anyway. It's not doing it for me because reasons that I don't understand. So I'm going to go look. Oh, it's because I have a pipe. Let me try it without the pipe. Yep, there we go. So for some reason, that's interesting. For some reason, lolcat makes it put it all on the same thing. So let's actually change this over here and make our command pipe into lolcat. I can put it in here just as well as I could do the other. So, okay, there we go. Oh, that's cool. That's really interesting. So lolcat's adding a line return. I wonder if lolcat has a dash n. Lolcat. So that's a pipe. What it does, it takes the output from one thing and send it to the next thing. We talked about that in another week, but just a reminder. Lolcat dash n. Does it have dash n? Nope, no dash n. Sorry for lolcat. I could do random though. Let's do random. Should we do that? Random RND is an X. It can't find my RND. Oh, fine. You get the point. I'm gonna. Okay, so anyway, you see what it's doing there? It's putting everything without the line return. Oh, I forgot the dash E. So dash E means to escape things that are escapable. Oh, nope, still doesn't know. So if you want color, I'll just give you a quick hint about what colors are. So dash N says normal line returns, right? And dash E does an escape sequence. So this is not part of the book or anything, but it's fun. So you probably want to know it. How do you do color? So probably the easiest way to do color is using the modern way to do RGB color. This is not supported in really ancient terminals, but it's the easiest way to do most color. You don't have echo random. It's because I made it. I didn't say about. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do colors without anything else that will just work. Okay, so let me first of all find a color here. This is using the CPUC tool from Ethan Baker, one of the guys that I private mentor. It's a brilliant little young guy, coder. He made this using the Go CView TView port, and it prints out your ANSI escape sequence if you want one, and that's available at a at a GitLab near you. Now he can I'll get you the full version. That's not ready yet, but I want to show you because everybody wants to know color as soon as they know how to print. So I usually like showing it to people right off. So you actually don't need this Unicode thing here. Usually the thing to put here is 033. This is an escape sequence. So when you're learning this is not something that's normally in a beginner class, but what this is color equals, right? So this is an escape sequence that very specifically sends what's called an ANSI escape sequence to the terminal that tells the terminal something to do something else. So here we have this, and now if I want to put the color in front of here, I can put color, but remember I got to use my things to get it. And you'd be like, well, why isn't my color printing? Why is it just printing out the things? Because it needs to be escaped. So you need to give it a dash E, and then that will tell it to escape it, to tell it to all be this really hard to read version of blue. And that's all you have to do for color. And you can change them. So this is RGB. So if I do 255, 0, 0, that's all red, right? And if I put a 0 here and I get rid of one of these zeros, what will that be? That'll be, and you can read all about this if you want. And if I want to do another 0 here, you'll get the B, RG and the B, and you can combine those to get whatever you want. Let me give you that line here. So here's a copy of that line so that you can put that into your own shell scripts and have color. And you can obviously randomize those numbers and get really fancy. With whatever, that's what I'm doing. The important here is to make sure you get 38.2. That tells you, hey, I'm going to use an RGB sequence, which is the easiest for us humans to get our heads around. There are like 3 other forms of color formatting, but this one is by far the easiest one to just remember. How do I run the program endlessly? Yeah, so that's just a while loop, and we're going to do loops later, but okay, so let me just clear this to show you what it was doing again. So this is just a while true loop, while true, do, done. And you can actually put that into script. Let's do that. Let's make our script have a while loop. Now I'm jumping ahead here, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. To reset it's tput. You can do tput, but you don't need to. If you want to reset your terminal, oh, I'm frozen over here. I froze my terminal. You ever done that? I accidentally did Control S and suspended my terminal, and the fix to that is Control A. If you want to do a reset is just actually, you know what you can do even better than this? Look at this. If you don't want to have the dash E in here, you can get rid of the dash E, and you can do this. this is another, I'm jumping way ahead, but this notation will automatically translate this into a character. And so then you have it just working. Okay. And then you don't even need to mess with the escape sequences in your echo. So there you go. So let me actually give you this one. So let me give you a reset also. So let's do that. So reset. So just to do a reset, and you can add these into your bash recipe or whatever, but the reset's pretty easy. It's just 033, which is escape. And then it's this slash, and then it's 0M. And all that does, if you send that by itself, is it resets the color. So if I wanted to make the name a different color, I could do a reset, and now it will reset. It should reset the name. So let's go check it. Dot greet. And yep, so now I get the two different colors, or I can make it be a different color or whatever. So here are those two lines. Just knowing those two lines, and you know everything you need to know about color on the terminal. I'm not kidding. That's all. That's all you really need. Everything else is a variation of that. So, so I'm going to send you those two lines, and you can like save those away and put them in your own scripts. I actually have become more of a fan of setting the colors in my scripts so my scripts are portable rather than using this big, huge environment that has all these predefined environment variables that have all my colors. I just think that's cool and all, but that also, since I've been on stream, it makes it impossible for me to share my scripts with people because they don't have my color library or whatever. So I've become a fan of presetting all of the colors in here. And one of the reasons I suggested Ethan make the CPIC program is I can now pick colors from the CPIC program and cut and paste out their result values straight into my script. And so then I can just kind of preload those specific colors in my script, and then it's actually also portable, because then, you know, anybody who grabs my script can use it and it will just work, and they don't have to have some complicated library for colors. And if you try to do colors in Python or anything else like that, it's like you have to have a library and all this crap. But if you know about Bash, it just makes it that much more fun and easy to code, because there's really no reason to code for anything than a million color terminal these days. Because why? Because every single major operating system now supports millions of colors in the terminal. We live in a new time, a new day, and there are times when you wanted to get rid of the colors and strip them because you don't want them in your output, like going to an email or something like that. But it's super fun. It also stops you from using -E. And with the last 3 minutes, I want to show you the other print methods, since we're doing printing from the shell, that are not covered. So another way to print, let's comment this one out. So by the way, this had no line return here. I'm going to take that out. All right. So so you'll see this when I run it over here. Should we put it in a loop? Should we put it in a loop? Let's do that. Actually, no, I can't put it in a loop. So how do you do the loop? The loop is just while true, do a thing, greet, done, and then done. And if you don't put a sleep in there, look at how fast that's going. So I'm gonna put a sleep in there. I'm gonna put sleep 0.5 seconds, semicolon, done. So now I get all of my hellos, and it's actually printing 2 at a time. There are loops in Bash, yes, and we are going to cover them, but just not today. Okay, so I'm going to cover the rest of the print statements in the last 2 minutes that I have, and then we'll get going. So there are a couple of other ways to print. The most important one is printf, and printf exists in pretty much every language there is, including C. And printf, as you can see, does not automatically, in every way it's the same as echo, except for it does not have a line return at the end by default. So I put that in there and you get a line return. Now that's exactly the equivalent to the previous one. But let's play around with this. By the way, commenting is a hashtag if you hadn't noticed. So let's actually use printf the way it's supposed to be used. So let's actually do this. We're going to put a %s here for one of the variables. I think I have to put a space there. I don't know if you can do this. We're going to see here. And then another thing you can do here is, so we could actually have, I'm just shooting from the breeze. It's kind of like if you know, F strings or anything like that, or Python format, it's the same sort of thing. And interprets it. It allows you to use white space and do decimals properly. So we have another S here, and then we have actually this one I can do like this because it's just a name, %s, but this one has to be in quotes. I'm just, and then you pass in the variables. So then you do this. I do like color for the first one, space, and then reset for the next one, and then name for this one. That should work. Oh, bad problem. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I guess not. Oh wow. Okay, so I guess you don't need to escape them. That's interesting. Why is it not working? What did I do wrong? Oh, it's because I have two of these. Rob, you'll see. That did it, but it didn't do it as red. Huh. Well, I can put a space there. I'm trying. I don't think I've ever done a printf. I mean, in this case, printf doesn't make that much sense, to tell you the truth. But it. What am I doing wrong, people? I've got something wrong going on here. I've been pushing it a little bit too far, but modern terminals with proportional font support. Yeah, I don't know if I would do that. It is, but I'm still a monospace guy. Anyway, printf lets you put other things in here. So declare -i age equals I'm 52. So we can put another one in here. %i, or is it n? I can't remember. I don't even know if this is going to work. We're going to see. Yep, there it is, 52, 0y. So anyway, you just know you can play around with printf. Printf is a much more complicated way to print things, but it does allow you to like do you know, leading spaces and put quote around name. Yeah. Anyway, so so you can do that. I think we're about good though. We've gone over. Have fun with it. Go experiment and learn how to print. Print some things with color on it. If you want to actually get string interpolation, yes, it does. That's basically what I'm trying to get at. So it you know, and it's a built-in. So man bash to get the answers to that. Just know that it's there. I mean, honestly, the main thing to know about printf is when you're dealing with numbers. So let's say I have like 56 and I want to do it with it I want a number, and then so why is it not doing it? Why are you not working? Do greet. What did I break? Oh, it's not doing it. Okay, so n. Oh, what am I talking about? Percent. So number. All right. Oh, not a valid identifier. I think it's I. I have to look them all up. They're from the C library. Anyway, so we have 56, right? Oh, Promethean always raids like. Oh, you're talking about who to raid? Yes, thank God. I was afraid we got raided right as I was about to leave. So, but here's what I wanted to show you. So if you put a 0 in front of that, and then you do like 0.56. Actually, this needs to be a float. There we go. So see that float? See what it does? And then I can say I only want 2 decimal places. .2. It's like a whole thing that you have to learn. So you mostly just need to know that it exists. Yeah, I'll go grab Aaron. But if you can actually do like different things here. You can actually give it some left justification, and you know, you can say like 0, 5, and that will put 5. It should put 5 spaces. Let me see. Try to. There you go. So this will say this will fit it into 8 spaces. This will fit it into 9 spaces. See what I'm saying? So it's just a way to became that color. Execute your script. Even username became that color. Yeah, because it bleeds. It bleeds. So when you do the color, it bleeds into whatever comes next until you do a reset, and including your prompt. So you can actually take over all the color of your prompt if you don't have a prompt that has, you know, color set in it or something. So that's, you know, play around with printf. This is, well, that was a little bit of feedback, but I think we're pretty much done for today. So yeah, we've gotten quite a bit through the book. You can do timestamps and learn about the date command. This is using Subshells. Why is it talking? This book is all over the place. I'm not, now that I'm going through it meticulously, it's got command substitution and they haven't even told you what that is yet. And now it's going to do here documents, really? Did they already do command substitution and didn't tell me? Because I didn't see it. Did you? No, I gotta make my own order for this. I'll just use this as some information, but I have to definitely make, this order is totally whack. I mean, it's good content, but it's like out of whack. Because you can't refer to something you've never taught. What part should we get to? I would say, honestly, I would read as much as you can in part 4. Read ahead as far as you want. Just make sure you practice everything that you're reading. To try and have Rob say which part you should read ahead to. Any reason why you didn't use watch instead of loop? Well, I just showed you. I actually did watch. I don't know if you saw, but I did watch before I did the loop. The main reason I don't do watch is because this. So watch shows me what it's running, and that's fine. I like watch. You can do watch-n, by the way, if you want to change how often it runs. So watch is, if you don't want to run the loop, you can just do watch. It's pretty, I use it all the time, but sometimes I want to do a little bit more with my loop, and watch, if watch does not like lots of arguments. So if you're passing a lot of stuff to the script and stuff, it kind of freaks out on that. Plus, while loops aren't, that hard. So that's what's going on. How far should you read? Honestly, read as much in part 4 as you can. And I mean that. Read ahead. If you get read as much of part 4 as you can. We're going to obviously cover as much as we can cover in the time frame, but this week we only have 4 days or 5 days to cover all of shell scripting, which I actually think is fine to cover it as an introduction, but not. We're going to do here documents, which is just one part of it. It looks like. Oh yeah, that is not necessary. This also isn't covering the triple redirects too. There's so many things this doesn't cover. It's kind of sad because it does cover associative arrays, which other books don't, but it also doesn't cover a lot of the basic redirection things that need to be covered. So I'm really feeling compelled to write my own. So yeah. Anyway, it shows you how to do functions. Looks like we're going to do functions tomorrow, and we'll be doing. Doesn't do any loops yet, so we're doing functions before loops. Okay. It tells you about local variables, which it should have covered on the first day. This is a fail. Okay, underscores, don't use your underscores in variables. That's just a bad idea. Do not use underscores in variables ever, because you can't read them. Flow branching with if. Yeah, this is way out of order, but so yeah, just read all of part 4, and I may or may not even follow the pattern of this section at this point, because I don't think that they're progressively getting to the next thing. This is also the problem I have, in case you're wondering. I know we're off the clock now. This is also the problem I have with the schedule I've been making and why it's unfinished right now, because I realized that if I list the chapters in the schedule, that I might jump around and cover things that make more logical sense in sequence, and that's not how the book does it. And so it's been a huge conflict for me, because I need to try to figure out what to put in the schedule, whether I should do it in my order and just jump around in the book, or should I do it like most teachers do, frankly, or should I follow the book? And the answer is the first. I'm going to do my own order, but that also means that I have to do a little bit more creation of the schedule instead of depending on the book. So that's why I don't have a quick answer for you on that. Let's raid Adam and call it a day. Yeah, and of course the checklist is the most important thing of all, and the checklist is not going to be just for this course. It's going to be, here's the things you need to master. That's the idea of an open credential. So I just want to plug that idea. My number one priority right now is finishing the boost and finishing this initial knowledge app for the boost. But as soon as we finish that, the next thing is going to be an open credential which is basically a huge checklist of all the things that you should check off, saying that in order to say that you've actually gotten good. Okay, so let's see. Rest of the week. All right, let's do raid. Twitch raid Adam. Can somebody give me Adam's thing again? Yeah, watch doesn't show the colors. Well, actually, yeah. Thank you for that. All right, people. I'm actually gonna go. I'm not gonna make you wait for the thing. I've stopped. You know what I need to do? I need to make. I'm gonna make completion for raid that has all my favorite people that I like to raid, so I can just hit tab and get their name. Because scripting for the win. I cannot tell you how much I love it. It's just all these little things you're just never done, making these cool little things. Be sure to ask what LS. Yeah, be nice to him. How's it going, Ned? I'm gonna go launch you over there ahead of time so you don't have to wait. It also means I can turn my stream off reliably. And I'm gonna go do yoga. Make sure you get up and move around between your scripting sessions. Oh, there's Parmesan. And we're going to Adam, yeah? How many seconds do we have left? 102 viewers are ready to raid. Okay, here we come. Thank you, everyone. Oh, good up. Macromedia. All right, let's see here. I need to shut my stream down, I guess. Good old JSX. Oh, wow, that's cool. He's making a course. That's super cool.